戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is March 16th, 2026. We are live to tape on episode 923. And today, RESURREPSTEIN. Signing on from off the grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films and author of Archetypalism, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It is a beautiful Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
You have a case of the Mondays?
No, I'm stoked. I'm jazzed. We're going, baby. It's a big, big day, Gonzo. Do you know why?
It is. I actually do know why. It's telling me right on the Canary Cry calendar here that we are celebrating 14 years today.
Wow.
Of podcasting. Canary Cry Radio, Canary Cry News Talk. Our very first episode 001 of Canary Cry Radio was published on this day, March 13th of 2012. So congratulations.
I'm also seeing it's, yes, happy anniversary, Gonz.
Yeah.
And we've never had a fight. Isn't that beautiful? That's nice.
Not any
it's
consequential ones anyway.
March 16th, 316, like John 3:16 day.
I know. It was definitely that was definitely not on purpose. So.
Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Panda, says today is also National Panda Day, by the way.
There you go. Look at that.
It's all coming together, baby. It's all lining up. As it is written, so it shall be. Well,
Yep.
Congratulations, of course, to you, Gonz, and to me as well, and also to all the producers around the world over the many, many years that we have now gone 14 years without taking a single penny from corporations, commies, cartels, governments, the Vatican, the CIA, which is, is a tough one. I mean, they haven't made any decent offers yet, but so far 14 whole years operating entirely outside of the traditional sort of podcast funding structure. So a big old shout out to all of our producers, anybody who's come in with their time, their talent, or their treasure for the last 14 years. You guys have really, I'll say this, impressed us. And when we meet other podcasters and we tell them about value for value and how we're keeping things alive and done it for so long, their minds are absolutely blown. Like, it's so far outside the realm of how anybody is doing it, of course, with a few exceptions. That it's like seems unreal. It's like, and it's a miracle. So thank you guys very much. And of course, all of our great producers who do all sorts of things for us. It's also, what is it? The sixth year? Is it this? No. Okay. It's like the fourth year of the supply drop. And
okay.
It just keeps going. It's incredible.
I think we're about 10 years of news talk alone. We started in 2016. So this year will be 10 years of news talk. And it's crazy. I have the episode CCR 001 on the screen here. It was titled Introductions, Internet Tracking, and Transhumanism. Yeah. It sounds like, I don't know, some CIA podcaster today, that's doing their thing. But
Sean Ryan.
Sean, there you go. Sean Ryan. They're hiring, by the way. Did you see that? Sean Ryan is hiring. Really? They're hiring some like.
Oh, I gotta go. Hold on. I gotta get my resume.
Actually, I think you will have to go get your resume and get on a call with Sean Ryan in a few minutes here. So we should probably get going on that.
We will. Let's jump into the news. I do have a telehealth appointment.
I was going to play up the whole Sean Ryan interview.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I got to go talk to Sean Ryan. I have a very good reason. I got to go in about 20 minutes, but I'll be back 20 minutes after that. So let's jump right into it. Big news of the day, Gonz. Biggest news in the world.
So gay.
We're doing... That's right. Let everything you hear from now until forever be informed by this first story. We're really going to be covering just the complete dissolution of the sort of hyper reality around us. Okay, we have officially stepped into just full Matrix mode, 5th generation warfare. The war is in your mind. And New York Post, or as I learned, California Post. If you live in California, New York Post renamed their website for you.
You live in California though, which is bizarre.
I don't. No,
I do, and I'm getting New York Post on my thing. So
that is weird. Well, we both use VPNs, of course. My VPN must be located right now in California or something, and yours is not. So, anywho, the headline: Trump briefed that Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba, as I've learned to pronounce it, Khomeini, is probably gay. And president has priceless reaction. President Trump was stunned to learn last week that U.S. intelligence indicates new Iranian supreme leader Mojtaba Khomeini may be gay, and that his father, the late Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, feared his suitability to rule the Islamic Republic for that reason. The Post can reveal.
Oh, great.
I love that
Thank
phrase.
you, Post.
We can now reveal this to you. We've been holding on to this little secret for so long. Now, obviously, this is funny. Let's remember what we're talking about here. U.S. intelligence indicates that he's gay. That's the CIA. This will come up later as well. Very important. We dedicate our 14th anniversary to the CIA. Thanks for everything. Remember, it was discussed right before the war, or it's discussed right after Khomeini died, whatever it was, that, he didn't want his son to take over because he didn't believe in nepotism.
Right.
He's such a good guy that he didn't want, much like the American forefathers, wanted to build a system that was resistant to the sort of European or old world practice of nepotistic nobility or leadership. No, it's not because of that. It's just because he was gay, apparently. Trump couldn't contain his surprise and laughed aloud when he was briefed on the intel, according to sources. Others in the room, you know what this is going to do? This is going to make the left support Iran even more.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out what the tactic is here. Are we just going to send the liberals over there? Is Lindsey Graham going to go over there now? He's got a purpose to end this war. He can really get in there, and he can do some things. So I'm just figuring out, or are they trying to get conservatives to hate them even more? Like, oh, he's gay too. Let's definitely go kill him.
Yeah, I think. See, I mean, this is the thing. I think when it comes to like this guy being gay or whatever, I think it makes the left love and defend him more than it makes the right not like him. You know. I mean, of course, it depends who you ask, but most people on the right that I know, you don't actually hate gay people or whatever. You might make funny jokes, but it will absolutely, a certain, I would say, majority of leftists will suddenly become ardent Iranian, supreme leader supporters, because I don't know if you've seen the videos, Gonz, but everybody's doing their like campus walk around man on the street things, and there's video after video after video of these this sort of blue-haired LGBTQ people defending Iran, saying, oh no, America's much worse for women than Iran. No, Iran is actually a very blah blah blah. And then the interviewer will be like, you know that they would throw you off a building, right? Are you gay? Yeah, I'm gay. They would hurt you. They go, no, they love me because we share the same ideals. Like, some of these leftist kids are under the impression that like they would be welcomed with open arms in Iran.
Yeah, well, didn't Trump just go on a podcast with Jake Paul, and they were talking about this, how they throw gays off the rooftops, and we support the gays, but we should probably stop the Iran because they're so evil, because they're throwing off gay people. So there's a lot of layers to this.
Listen to that podcast, but I mean, that's a very well known thing. That's a clear cultural custom. So number one, I mean, look, whether this is true or not, the intelligence agencies want to put that out there for some reason. It's part of the 5th generation warfare. I think there's a trick here to convince leftists to like support Iran even more than they do. Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it's just whatever. Let's go.
Is this like, before you go on here, is this like, obviously we're talking about male attraction to males, right? Because if you were around in the 60s, the word gay meant something else. I mean, I remember watching the Flintstones.
Maybe before the 60s. But yes, Gonz, we're all aware of gay being the other thing. Are you trying to say that Mujtaba Khomeini is just a happy guy?
Maybe he's just a happy guy, yeah.
I mean, the best reports are that he's in a coma or missing a leg, or if not, just totally dead. So that's very good. It's a father, folks. Dad humor is on.
It's not dad humor. It's facts. It's facts.
Okay. Others in the room also found it hilarious and joined the president's reaction, while one senior intelligence official has not stopped laughing about it for days, said one person familiar with the briefing. The shocking claim was described to the Post by 2 intelligence community officials and a 3rd person close to the White House. All 3 sources say the implausible sounding allegation is viewed as credible by the U.S. spy agencies, rather than false information intended to undermine Khomeini, 56, who was selected to replace his dead father as supreme leader on March 8th. Now, we have watched the crumbling of journalistic ethics over probably about the past 10 years, but specifically, over the past 5 years. And it used to be that to report a story, you needed actual sources, and you needed to you needed some sort of name to put on it. And it used to be that the journalistic ethics of American journalism, you used to need 3 sources to approve a single fact to call it true, right? Then over the years, over COVID, over Trump, it goes from person familiar with the matter to just person familiar with his thinking to person with knowledge. And you can just base an entire story on one person with knowledge. But I gotta hand it to the New York Post here. They do technically brag about having 3 sources, 3 anonymous sources, and 2 of them being intelligence community officials. So remember, if they are telling the truth, that it's to spies, it's great that they are taking it at their word that this implausible sounding allegation is viewed as credible by U.S. spy agencies rather than false information intended to undermine Khomeini, 56, who was selected to replace his dead father, supreme leader, on March 8th. Two of the sources said the intelligence indicated that Moshtaba, who earned the nickname the power behind the robes while serving as his aging dad's gatekeeper, has had a long-term sexual relationship with his childhood tutor.
Okay, so this is like some kind of Epstein-esque type of scenario going on here? Or
Well,
what?
we learned during the war in Afghanistan and in Iraq that there are places, certain groups of Muslims at least, that have the practice, this sort of cyclical practice involving young men and older men in the
power
ongoing,
dynamic.
well,
the
the
hierarchical.
ongoing human quest to outsmart God, like you're
Yeah.
not allowed to do this, but he didn't say anything about this. There's
Okay.
a long-standing what's the word?
Loophole that they're trying to
Yeah,
create here.
kind of one of those things. But yes, this is at least according to all the boots on the ground and the intelligence testimony from the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, this is pretty common amongst different groups of Muslims. So maybe it was one of those things, I don't know, who knows. Let's see here. Has
The
Moshtaba,
third source.
third source said the intelligence indicated the affair was with a person who formerly worked for the Khomeini family. Moshtaba, who is believed to have been wounded in the same February 28th airstrike that killed his father and other members of his family, has made, quote, aggressive sexual overtures to men caring for him, possibly under the influence of heavy medication, one of the Post sources said. So it sounds like the CIA has people in the hospital taking care of the guy.
That definitely was what it sounds like.
That is some pretty serious sources.
Yeah.
So anywho, it goes on for a long, long time. But let's see here.
They don't have pictures.
U.S. spy agencies do not have photographic evidence of Mojtaba Khomeini's alleged sexual attraction to men.
That's
that would be quite the photographic evidence.
It's on Anthony Weiner's laptop.
That's the thing. It says photographic. It so specifically says photographic evidence.
Yeah.
I don't know if that includes videographic for them or audio evidence. I don't know. But the sources insisted the tip is solid, with one saying it was, quote, derived from one of the most protected sources that the government has.
Okay.
So there you go. I don't know.
What is the... I'm still trying to figure out what...
50 paragraphs here.
Yeah, they really just went after it.
When identifying the sort of... the whole point of this weekend, I think, after every weekend between shows of ours, a theme sort of appears. And this weekend, the theme was not necessarily like bombs dropping, military operations, ships exploding. This weekend was really themed of like, hey, you have no idea what to believe or even why to believe. This sort of overwhelming of the fifth generation warfare, the information war, the psi war, as the ghost ops people call it. It was really this jam-packed weekend of just pure anonymously sourced mind, like screwing with your mind, and overall I think trying to overwhelm the senses of anybody trying to continue to pay attention, to get people to check out. Maybe, I mean, that's kind of the easy answer, but we officially cannot trust anything, as we will learn further on. And absolutely. The rest of the sort of 50 paragraphs lays out sort of like a timeline, almost like a biography of Mojtaba's homosexuality. And
it certainly seemed to have a lot of detail.
Like a whole biography about how they know this guy is gay. Maybe they've always known it. I don't know. But then, of course, they go into the fact that this makes he's a criminal in Iran, and so he's a bad guy, and blah blah blah. Speaking of homosexuals, Gonz, we did have some more news from a fellow we've been following for quite some time, and that is Peter Thiel.
Special thanks to our sponsor, PALANTIR.
Artificial intelligence. Surveillance state.
Co-founder of PALANTIR, Peter Thiel.
Right.
Yeah.
Thiel is coming from AP. Thiel brings his Antichrist lectures to the Vatican's doorstep, and Catholic institutions back away. We've been talking about his interest in the Antichrist. He's actually been interested in the Antichrist since the 90s, some claim. There we go.
There's your bell. You got to go to your
apartment. I will let you tell everybody about Peter Thiel and what he's going on here.
Great. Wonderful.
Right
yes.
back.
Yep. All right. Have fun with Sean Ryan. All right. That is my PFP. I'm going to remove him for a moment. He'll come back in a second here. All right. So, yes, the headline is Thiel brings his Antichrist lectures to the Vatican's doorstep and Catholic institutions back away. I do have a clip of Peter Thiel from a little while ago. This is maybe a couple years ago. He did this interview. He's been talking about the Antichrist for a while. We've been tracking his conversations about the Antichrist. And the long and short of it is his position, as far as we can tell, because a lot of these meetings and conferences are behind closed doors, so we don't know exactly what he's talking about. But what has been made public, and I've read through some of the stuff and the reporting and whatnot, is that Thiel believes that there's only one way to really prevent a world government, and that is to prevent Armageddon. But preventing Armageddon might create a one world government, and so we don't want that either. So, you got to also prevent the Antichrist. So that's kind of a stake. Let me just let him talk about it a little bit here. This is him, again, from a couple years ago in an interview discussing this topic.
My speculative thesis is that if the Antichrist were to come to power, it would be by talking about Armageddon all the time.
Yeah, Peter Thiel, you, sir, are talking about the Antichrist and Armageddon all the time.
And
Peter Thiel, the Antichrist would talk about Armageddon all the time. He'd scare people and then offer to save them.
Yes, it's the 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety. And so, which is nothing wrong with peace and safety, but you have to sort of imagine that it resonates very differently in a world where the stakes are so absolute, where the stakes are so extreme, where the alternative to peace and safety is, Armageddon and the destruction of all things. And then that's where peace and safety gets you way more than it would have in 1750.
Rene Girard, in I Saw Satan Fall Like Lightning, one of his books, the Antichrist boasts of bringing to human beings the peace and tolerance that Christianity promised but has failed to deliver.
There are probably, I think there are all these elements where it's downstream from Christianity. You can think of, the poor shall inherit the earth, Sermon on the Mount. Marxist theory is we're going to be more Christian. We're going to accelerate it. We're going to bring it about faster. So there is, the Antichrist probably presents as a great humanitarian, as a great, it's redistributive. It's as an extremely great philanthropist, as an effective altruist. All of those kinds of things. And these things are not, simply anti-Christian, but it is always when they get overly combined with state power that something is very wrong.
Okay. So Rene Girard being discussed there. Basil has a little thing on Rene Girard, so I'll save that point for Basil to rant on. But you heard him right there. He's okay. So yeah, the Antichrist will probably be talking about Armageddon a lot, which is what he's doing. He's even going to Rome to talk about it. And not only that, but he's going to be an altruist. He's going to be redistributive, meaning he's going to give back to the world, which is, if you've known about a lot of the conspiracy corners, there's been rumors, especially since the QAnon stuff, about Gesera, which is this theory that there is money being held in vaults or something, trillions of dollars being held that will be redistributed to the people, which still also sounds a lot like the universal basic income, or what Elon Musk has been talking about, the universal high income. Elon came out recently and said, hey, having a job is going to become optional as the robots and AI takes over a bunch of jobs and a bunch of the duties that, that we currently have as jobs, as employment opportunities for people to support their families and everything. So I'm sure the transition for that is not going to be very pretty. But it's this idea that this Antichrist is going to appear very peaceful, and he's going to bring peace and safety. The slogan of the Antichrist being peace and safety. These are all somewhat ideas that have floated around in the Christian circles who study end times, eschatology, things of that nature. But Peter Thiel, being a man himself, a co-founder of Palantir, who has combined powers quite a bit with the state, he just talked about that. He's like, yeah, when you combine this power, this idea of altruism and redistribution and everything, when you combine it too much with state power, that's when things can become very ugly, which is ironic because Peter Thiel, your whole thing, you're combining powers with the state, and it's the private-public partner, the public-private partnership, the PPP. In recent weeks, we heard NVIDIA partnering with Palantir. We heard Polymarket partnering with Palantir. We know Amazon's AWS is partnered with Palantir. We know Google is partnered with Palantir. We know Microsoft is partnered with Palantir. We know Fannie Mae has a partnership with Palantir. So it's not out of the question here that Peter Thiel himself is on a public campaign discussing the Antichrist and Armageddon, and he's sort of being set up as the guy to be Antichrist or Armageddon, bring about Armageddon, or try to prevent it, I guess. I don't know. I don't exactly know what the whole thing is, but let's see what this AP article says. Oh, by the way, the title of this episode today is the Reptile in Rome. The Reptile in Rome is part of the longer title. It's very complicated. We have a couple titles. We have like a long title, and then we have a short title for different purposes here. But the long title is, or at least starts with, The Reptile in Rome. And the reason is because the anagram for Peter Thiel, when you rearrange the letters of the name Peter Thiel, you get the Reptile. Give it a try. It's I don't know. It's just a thing that happens. In fact, I'm kind of doing my little thing and looking at anagrams of a bunch of people's names, because everybody has these tight, short names. Alex Karp, Elon Musk, Donald Trump. They're very punchy, couple syllables. And I'm sure if you do some anagrams on some of that, it's very interesting. But here's what the AP says in their article. Thiel brings Antichrist lectures to the Vatican's doorsteps, and Catholic institutions back away. One of the hottest tickets in the Vatican's backyard these days is for a 4-lecture series on the Antichrist given by Silicon Valley tech billionaire Peter Thiel. The invitation-only conference in Rome from Sunday to Wednesday has proven so controversial that the Catholic universities initially associated with it have all denied official involvement. Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and Palantir, the data mining company that has been assisting the Trump administration's migration deportation crackdown, an early donor to the political career of J.D. Vance, Thiel is also deeply interested in the apocalyptic concept of the Antichrist and has written and lectured on it before. Yes, we know about this. Quote, Christians debated these prophecies for millennia. Who was the Antichrist? When would he arrive? What would he preach? End quote. He mused in a November essay in the Catholic magazine First Things. Catholic institutions take their distance. Discussion of the Antichrist by a tech billionaire in the Vatican's backyard has proven divisive. Oh, really? Huh, okay. Initially, the lectures were reportedly going to be held the Pontifical St. Thomas Aquinas University, the Dominican University in Rome, known colloquially as the Anglicum. It is best known these days as a place where a young priest named Robert Prevost, now Pope Leo the 14th, wrote his canon law doctoral thesis. Okay, so it's where the current Pope wrote his thesis. But as word began to circulate in the Italian media about alleged secret lectures on the Antichrist by Thiel at the Pope's alma mater, the Anglicum took its distance. Quote, "We would like to clarify that this event is not organized by the university, will not take place at the Anglicum, and is not part of our institutional initiatives," the university said in a statement on its website. According to an announcement for the event seen by the Associated Press, the lectures were jointly organized by an Italian organization, the Vincenzo Gioberti Cultural Association, and the Clooney Institute at the Catholic University of America in Washington. The Gioberti Group, which describes itself as a cultural association dedicated to the renewal of Italian political culture, confirmed it was involved. The association, named for a 19th century Italian Catholic priest philosopher, said in a statement it believed in promoting research and encounters, quote, "Based on the great tradition of classical and Christian thought, we believe this heritage is fundamental to addressing the crisis engulfing the contemporary West." But CUA, the Catholic University of America, distanced itself. This is a quote by the CUA. "The CUA is not sponsoring or hosting an event featuring Peter Thiel this month in Rome," university spokesman told AP. Quote, "The Clooney Project is an independent initiative incubated by the university. The Clooney Institute is a new initiative of the CUA to bring together leaders from the worlds of academia, religion, and technology." Okay, so they started in 2023. They hosted Thiel at one of their events for a talk on René Girard, the French academic, which again, I'll leave that for Basil. It has to do with mimetic culture and things. The fascination with the Antichrist. Thiel is known to be somewhat obsessed with the Antichrist, the biblical term used to describe someone who opposes or denies Christ, which is a little more accurate for AP. Good job, AP. We know that we've talked about this, how the Antichrist is more discussed as a spirit. The spirit of Antichrist, it says in 1 John 4, I believe, has been around since the beginning. You know, we use it culturally as the person, the Antichrist, but technically speaking, biblically speaking, though the person is, they have different labels. It's the man of perdition, the man of sin, or son of perdition. I'm sorry, the son of perdition. Little horn is another one. One of the heads of the beast in Revelation 13. So he's never actually called Antichrist. That is a cultural thing, which could have ties back to some bad eschatology that I won't get into here. Thiel speaks of the concepts in terms of the choices facing humanity to confront the existential risks of the world today. Okay, so we kind of know about this. We don't necessarily need to go into all of it. And the article goes on here to talk about ties to the Trump administration. I mean, this has been the research of, I think the true independent researchers have been calling this out for years. There's only a handful out there, I think, that are really on top of this. But the Palantir move, the Peter Thiel influence for guys like J.D. Vance, this is why we've been talking about the technocracy, the old technocracy from the 1920s in America, which failed back then, but had a plan to create a single conglomerate of technocratic states, basically all of North America, including Canada, including Greenland, including Mexico, including Venezuela and Cuba, which has been in the news recently. So this all involves a long-term plan here. And so that's why when Peter Thiel comes around and starts talking about the Antichrist and Armageddon and going on a world tour of lectures about it, it's a little strange. You know, people wonder what is actually going on. And so here's the thing, you know, as a, I guess I'm a Protestant, right? I'm not a Catholic. I like what the Orthodox believers tend to talk about and things, but I'm not necessarily under the hierarchy or anything of the Orthodox Church. I'm more Protestant in that regard. I would imagine Martin Luther is losing his mind right now. Martin Luther, for those of you who know, he's part of the Reformation. He nailed the theses on the door of the Catholic Church. And it was during the Reformation, about 500 years ago, where Luther called out the papacy at the time as the Antichrist and the beast. And his argument basically was that the papacy subverts the gospel and the church internally, fulfilling prophecies of spiritual tyranny in Daniel, Revelation, and the epistles. And he pointed out how the Pope claims Christ's authority, but acts basically in the opposite way. You know, he accepts worship, he corrupts, and he he does all the things that the Antichrist would do. And even today, you look at the Vatican and you kind of think like, well, doesn't look like necessarily the best representation of Christ here. The Pope himself being the vicar of Christ, Christ on earth, so to speak. The Protestants reject that whole thesis. And so there's a divide there. But it's just interesting to me that Peter Thiel, the guy who, if there was, or if there's going to be an Antichrist, he fits the bill in a sense, maybe not entirely, but he's got some things that check off. And actually, this is really why I'm writing the book Archetypalism. I know I say I'm the author of Archetypalism at the beginning of every episode for the last couple months here. And if you are part of the Face Like the Sun Patreon, I did publish, or at least I floated out the first couple chapters, the introduction in the first, I think it was actually just the first chapter. And that reminds me, I need to publish more of that. If you're part of the group that gets that first, take a look at it. I actually rewrote it a couple times, and it's written now for the normie in a sense. I really made it simple to digest, because the basic idea of archetypalism is that, in the Bible, if you have studied the Bible, if you have looked at the scriptures in a more scholarly sense, there's something called typology. And actually, there's a book here. I got my book, Typos, by Leonard Goppelt. Goppelt, I don't know how to say that exactly. And typology, interpretation of the Old Testament in the New. Basically, the idea that he presented in this book of Typos, and you hear about typology, is that there are patterns that emerge, the Exodus pattern being one of the biggest ones, where the Old Testament establishes a certain pattern, and then the New Testament repeats or references that pattern in a certain way. And so, you look at prophecy and things, there's a lot of things that are fulfilled in the New Testament that were prophesied in the Old Testament, but they happen not just as a sort of prediction fulfillment, it's more of a pattern. And so typology is pretty well established in biblical scholarship. And I basically took that research, and I am writing a book to try to help create a way to study current events, contemporary things being happening all around us every day, and analyze them, not so much in like a timeline or hey, this is fulfilling that type of mentality, but more so in an archetypal manner. Because I think what we'll come to see is that when you look at the patterns in Scripture, what the Scripture itself references, and the emergent patterns and archetypes of Scripture. For example, the beast archetype. You can talk about Babylon. You can talk about Egypt. They all seem to have similar characteristics, and those characteristics create an archetype. It's like putting together a video game, or you're playing a video game and you're building a character, and you can choose what kind of powers your character has. These are archetypes. These are character traits that emerge. And so when you take those patterns, and then you can look at things that are happening today. For example, you look at Peter Thiel, and you can say, you know what? You look at the Antichrist or man of sin archetype, and look, he checks off a couple of these things, right? Maybe not everything, but a couple of these things. Somebody in the chat mentioned Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner is another guy. You can look at it and boom, 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 a couple of those things tick off, right? And so we can have this conversation about who the Antichrist might be without really dying on the hill of like, Obama's the Antichrist. I don't care what any of you say. Obama's the Antichrist. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, Obama had some things that aligned, but really what people are seeing are the archetypes. They're seeing the character traits of the Antichrist or the man of sin or whatever that's established in Scripture. And then because they tick off, because they check the boxes, they'll say, oh, this is that guy. This is the prophesied guy. And I think the same thing happened with Martin Luther. He looked at his current situation. He looked at the papacy. He read the Bible for himself, right? With the printing press being made and everything, really revolutionized all that. So he looked at the papacy and thought, wow, this really fits the bill, the list of things the Bible describes for the man of sin. And so for Martin Luther at the time, it made sense. It made a lot of sense. And so we can acknowledge all of these things throughout history, people calling out these different people as the Antichrist, or that's the beast, or that's this, that's that. The harlot is another one. We can acknowledge the patterns are there. We can acknowledge the archetypes match without dying on the hill of like, hey, this for sure is fulfilling that, because we don't know the the day or the hour. We can certainly know the season. And I think history ebbs and flows in that regard. And so this is kind of a bigger idea, and it's one that I don't know people are going to really like. Ironically, I think people that have no basis or no study of biblical prophecy might like the book better, just because they can get into Bible prophecy without dying on the hill of any particular interpretation. But I think I might get a lot of pushback from, people that are really strong in one view or another when it comes to certain eschatological views and interpretations. So I'm prepared for it. I'm ready. I mean, I've gone through the ringer when it comes to comments and people hating on me and stuff. So I'm ready for it. But so look forward to that. That's kind of on a side note, on a personal note, writing that book about archetypalism. By the way, I'm not going to call the book archetypalism. It's too confusing for people. People are going to type in they're going to type in Antichrist. They're going to type in anarchyism or something. I don't know. They're not going to find the word so easily. So the book title itself will probably be something a lot more simple. But that's the basic idea here with archetypalism. And I think when you look at Peter Thiel and what he's doing, again, it's like, man, you really are. It's not helping your case of not being the Antichrist. I'll just say that, or having the Antichrist spirit, right? I mean, this guy is the co-founder of the biggest platform for surveillance and even in warfare as well, because we know Palantir is responsible all over the world. They've partnered with different nations and stuff. And we know that Palantir assisted in certain things in Gaza and Israel, stuff like that. So again, I think it's really important to pay attention to these things, but not necessarily die on the hill of any interpretation or any accusation of any individual who might check off a few boxes when it comes to the character traits of the man of sin or the beast or the harlot or any of these things. And hopefully the book, once it's published, it will allow people to study Bible prophecy without having anxiety about things. Because I think if you're new to it, stuff like this it's going to make you anxious. It's like, oh no, Peter Thiel's the Antichrist, but also Trump's the Antichrist, but also Jared Kushner's the Antichrist, but also Obama's the Antichrist, and they're going to resurrect Hitler. Hitler's the Antichrist. And everyone's got a view of who it is. The archetypalism thesis allows you to nod your head and go, you're right. That these are things that align with certain descriptions of the man of sin in Scripture. But we don't know, number one, and number two, we don't have to know. You can point those things out, make it a good study, point out the archetypes. And then, of course, the major really important thing about the book is going to be the archetype of Christ, the ultimate imager of God, and how we should be pursuing in our personal lives to reflect the perfect imager of God, who is Christ. So there is a gospel message within that too. It's not just calling out the negative side of the archetypes. There are positive archetypes in the Bible that repeat as well. So there you go. All right, what else is there to say about this? Okay, so Martin Luther, back to him. Martin Luther probably losing his mind about this. I mean, can you imagine if Martin Luther was alive right now and understood the cultural place we're in, the milieu, the technocratic infrastructure? I'm sure this all sounded like science fiction to people in the 1500s. But let's sit Martin Luther down, explain the situation, and then tell him this guy named Peter Thiel, whose anagram is the Reptile, is going into the Vatican, giving closed door lectures about the Antichrist and Armageddon. I'm sure he'd be pulling out his hair. So there you go. That's really the thing with the Peter Thiel story. I don't have much else to say about it. We've been tracking this situation with Peter Thiel and the Antichrist for a while now, and it just keeps popping up every once in a while. And this one in particular, we thought was important to report because, of course, he's going to the Vatican. The Vatican. The people that have what used to be called the Lucifer telescope in Mount Graham, looking up at the skies and looking for aliens. Why is it called the Lucifer? I don't know. They had to change the name, by the way. I think they changed it because they knew it was bad PR once people started figuring out that they named a telescope Lucifer. So, all right. I was hoping Basil will be back by now because I wanted him to kind of go on his little thing about Rene Girard. but if he's not back yet. So maybe the interview with Sean Ryan is going well. That's a joke, by the way, folks. He's not actually interviewing with Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan is hiring, though. So maybe that's a thing to do. Okay, so let's move on for a moment here and go to the next thing here. We were supposed to talk a little bit about, we were going to do executive producers. We'll get back to that. Let's talk about Trump. Now, this is where my brain, my brain hurts a little bit, I guess.
We will launch a new age.
Because the high strangeness of topics that we have covered over the years, it's all becoming mainstream and in a way that makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Aliens. Yep. Aliens. Aliens.
All right. So DailyMail, New York Times, several other outlets carried this story a few days ago, and it tripped me out. I got to be honest, it tripped me out a little bit because, and this isn't like, oh, I'm so right. I'm so, it's not about that. It's more about the timing of things. So several years ago, back in 2017, there were some researchers discussing the high strangeness of Trump. Okay, it was a very small fringe group of people that were pointing out the Ingersoll Lockwood books from the late 1800s, The Last President, and the president's name is Trump, and he starts his whole campaign in New York, and the whole thing. It really does sound like President Donald Trump. And there was another book called, I think it was called, I'm doing this off the top of my head here, like Baron Trump's Excellent Adventures or something. He goes into some portal in Antarctica to the Hollow Earth or something, whatever it was. Okay, so these are very strange coincidences, quote unquote. And part of that conversation involved the airships drawn by Del Shah. And just as a proof here, this is just a receipt on my end. This post that I've made here, another aeroship drawing. I guess I should do the other one first, maybe. Well, that's okay. We'll do this one. Another aeroship drawing from Del Shah, the Aero Up Trump. Trump's uncle saw the Tesla papers in 1943. Hashtag wow. Yeah, that's how I was posting in 2017. You got the date right there. September 27th, 2017 is when I posted this. And you can see the piece of art here, which is, so basically this guy named Del Shah made these paintings and these drawings in his notebook. Del Shah, I think he was born in the 1800s. He died in the early 1900s. And his notebook was discovered with a whole bunch of these aeroships or airship drawings. And, they're very intricate drawings or watercolor or something like that. And they have different things. We're not going to break down every aspect of it because I think there's an episode somewhere on News Talk where we went into more detail about this. But you can see, there's a 45 on the bottom left, Houston, Texas, April 18th, 1920. Let's see, what does it say right there? Lone Bee model. And you can clearly see Aero Up Trump written there. And I believe there's another piece that I think I had it posted here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, it was the same day that I posted the other one here. 1920, Charles A. Del Shah. This one designed for Trump, bottom right. Most of these drawings are from Houston, Texas. And yes, there's another one that looks kind of like the bell, like the Nazi bell. If you guys have done your UFO research, the Nazis had this bell-shaped thing. It's sort of that shaped. It does have the black and white stripes, or I'm sorry, the blue and white stripes within these drawings, which, of course, nowadays people know that as sort of the Epstein Island temple situation going on there. But yeah, clearly you can see on the bottom left arrow on the right, it says Trump, and 4586 are the numbers there. 45 at the time, significant because Trump was the 45th president. And these are supposed to be these flying ships that existed, or not existed, but were drawn by Del Shah. So I'm showing my receipts here just to say that this has been a topic that has been part of fringe research for a while. I published stuff about it, published these posts, and I'm pretty sure I talked about it on News Talk several years ago. And so it's really weird when, and by the way, I did mention it a couple days before. Oh, because of last week when on Wednesday, we talked about the Trump's the weird book, right? The King of the Jews, written by Leslie Epstein, allegedly in 1979, where a man named I.C. Trumpelman becomes favored by the Zionists, actually in the book, and he becomes the king of the Jews in a sense. In that context, I brought up the airships. There's a lot of strange things going on with this Trump guy, and remember the airship thing? Remember that? And so it was like a day later, literally like 1 or 2 days later, the New York Post, Daily Mail, they started carrying this headline. I'm taking this one from Daily Mail. Mysterious Trump airships appearing in 100-year-old sketchbooks sparks time traveler theories. Now, again, I published, my post was from 9 years ago. Okay, so this is not a new theory, but you would think if you're just new to this stuff, this is like, oh, it's breaking. Oh, what's weird? Here's what the Daily Mail said. A wild theory claims President Trump may be a time traveler with clues scattered through art and literature for more than a century. Sketches of futuristic aircraft drawn by artist Charles Del Shaw, a Prussian immigrant who came to the U.S. in 1850 and died in 1923, mysteriously contain the word Trump, and even features the number 47, the number of presidents the U.S. has had. I don't know where this 47, maybe they show it in the thing here. Oh yeah, this is the Trump train. There's a 45 in there. I don't know where the 47 is that he's talking about. 45. Okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe the Daily Mail is mistaken on that. It says 45, or maybe this is the third one. No, this one also 45. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one says 47. Maybe that's disinfo on the part of Daily Mail. Let's continue. Before his death, Del Shaw created depictions of fantastical flying machines that he called Eros, which often resembled a mix of early airships, balloons, and primitive airplanes. However, conspiracy theorists have seized on the repeated appearance of Trump's name and the numbers associated with both of his terms in the White House as the 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief. The extraordinary theory has also been connected to old novels by Ingersoll Lockwood from the 1800s, which featured a young character named Baron Trump who embarked on incredible adventures with a wise mentor, Don. In Lockwood's book, Baron lives in a grand palace called Castle Trump and is guided by Don, even adding more intrigue to the theory that America's first family was foretold decades before the president's birth. While some have claimed the artist and author had some mysterious methods of knowing the future, others have claimed without evidence that the similarities prove the Trump family has time-traveling technology and is used to influence world events. One person on social media claimed, either Trump is a time traveler or someone put in 200 years of work to make a guy who wasn't even born yet look like he is one. I think, actually, I'm doing this on the fly here. I think that's inversionism. I would be, it'd be interesting if he did not receive credit here, because that's the one thing I am noticing. Because inversionism, or Invisidon, I guess he's changed his name to Invisidon, at Quantum Altered X. So there's that. Hold on, I'm trying to see if there was a post by him that said these exact words. I don't know. See, the thing is, the Daily Mail, I don't think, they say one person on social media. Sometimes they embed the X post, but I've noticed that on these topics, they don't give credit to the people in social media, which is interesting, because normally even if it's the most random people, they will embed the tweet or the post or have a screenshot of it. But in this case, they don't do any of that. So, let's see. According to American Visionary Art Museum in Maryland, Del Shaw's fictitious arrows were powered by an anti-gravity substance he envisioned called NB gas or soup that enabled them to fly without normal fuels. The technology is eerily similar to descriptions of UFOs, which the government calls unidentified anomalous phenomena. I thought it was aerial phenomena. Yeah. And President Trump has vowed to disclose the American people, to disclose to the American people. So, yes, this is part of the story here. This is the New York Post. Trump's UFO release could include videos, photos of non-human craft, proving we are not alone. This came out right after. So there is this strange narrative being pushed out there right now that taps into the strange narrative that we've been kind of on the trail of for a while, You're welcome, New York Post and Daily Mail and the intel agencies. But here's the thing: maybe they've been on this all along, and it made me wonder. The movie The Truman Show, and the thesis of the movie, or the plot, is that a man named Truman is born, and the world has watched the life of this individual because it's like a TV show, it's a reality TV show, and from birth, basically, he's been tracked. The whole world has watched Truman grow up, and everything around him is fake. All the people that are part of his life are actors, and all the people in his town are actors, and the whole idea that he's been watched, and he's content for the world, and it's the Truman Show, kind of like Trump, TRU. And it made me just wonder, like, is there a group of weird elite people, or maybe lizard people or something, I don't know, who have been tracking the life of Mr. Donald Trump since he was born? Maybe because his name was Trump, and the same folks that either knew or something, I don't know, influenced this bloodline or these folks to push these individuals a certain way. Maybe Donald Trump is Truman in a sense. It would make sense as far as like becoming president, reality TV show star, billionaire. He's got, so there's just some weird stuff going on there. It wouldn't surprise me at this point. I know it's strange. I know there's no way to like really nail down something like this, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. The principalities and the powers. Remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. These are ancient, intelligent entities who influence evil in society. It's not just evil people randomly coming up with stuff on their own. These are influenced highly by these rebellious divine entities. So if they knew that in the next century and a half, the world would completely change, the way we communicate, the way we absorb information, the way we are entertained, if they knew that all of it was going to change with the emergence of the communicative technologies that we have now, especially with the internet, wouldn't the principalities and powers set it up so that they have control in a certain sense of the narrative, or at least a bloodline, to allow for a certain level of control? It's not out of the question. I don't think it's out of the question. Okay, so that's kind of the Trump thing, all right? That this is, again, high strangeness. Just the timing of it all is just so bizarre to me, because I'm not saying that I'm so right and hey, you should listen to me. It's never about that. We've never been about that. We will point out how it's always just weird. It's just weird how we would say something and then like a couple days later, sometimes a few years later, but in this case, literally a day or two later, they come out with this story. And part of it too is that I know the Daily Mail and the New York Post are tracking some of the stuff we're talking about, because I have been, admittedly, I have been publishing or quote posting some of these things that go back to the New York Post, like this post here that I published on, let's see, when was this? March 14th. Okay, so this is when this article from the New York Post actually came out, the whole UFO, Trump releasing UFO footage. And so if if anyone's wondering, the formula right now to actually go viral or actually get any traction on X, you have to have a blue check mark. So you got to pay whatever, $15 a month or $20 a month to have that blue check mark. And the idea is to create your own commentary, but you quote post big outlets or big accounts or big posts like this one, this New York Post account. I quote post it. You put a meme in there. I put the Matrix meme of Neo waking up in the goo, and I'll explain why here. Here's my post, and you got to put your own commentary on it. Okay, that's part of the thing. So here's what I said: the Trump UFO arc is one that seems to be the setup right now, and the connection to some of the fringe religious Zionist prophecy, and I put it in air quotes, should not be missed. Rumors that Netanyahu is either dead or in a coma have been circulating for a few days. We'll talk about that a little later here because of the videos that are being published now from the BB account. Rumors that Netanyahu is either dead or in coma have been circulating for a few days, and this is significant for the quote-unquote prophecy. Before his passing in 1994, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson told Netanyahu he would be Israel's last prime minister and that he would hand the scepter to the Moshiach, or what they call the Messiah. Schneerson was Rebbe and leader of Chabad Lubavitch. And it's weird. I got these weird things here that I don't know what that is. Strange. Trump honored Schneerson posthumously with Education and Sharing Day proclamations and a 2024 grave visit. I remember that. I remember when Trump and Melania went to the Schneerson grave. If the Schneerson's prophecy is the script, Trump would fit the Messiah ben Joseph role of a non-Jew aiding in redemption. And if you don't know about that, some Jewish folks, or I guess you can call them more Zionists or religious Zionists, some of them have this prophecy of Messiah ben David and Messiah ben Joseph as their two parts of the end times. And Messiah ben Joseph shows up, and depending on the version of it, it's kind of confusing because, there's so many different people that have written on it and not all of it matches when it comes to some of these rabbis and stuff. But the idea is, for one of the versions of it, Messiah ben Joseph comes out. He's sort of a political entity that defends Israel, and he dies, basically. I mention it here. So Messiah ben Joseph role as a non-Jew aiding in redemption. This would make sense of Netanyahu's weird video a few days ago. This is talking about another video that Baby published of him talking about how the Messiah is going to come, but just not next Thursday. That was his thing. And I say here that video seemed to be AI, as some were pointing out. I should have said pointing out. Bibi having 6 fingers, so Nephilim. And again, to me, it didn't look like he actually had 6 fingers in the video. Some people were looking at the shadow of his hand, and it did look like a 6th finger was there, but that's not it's neither here nor there. People are getting way too tied up into that, by the way. Because of the ongoing tensions with Iran, if Netanyahu is gone, Trump might declare himself the king of the Jews, as the strange book title from 1979 written by Leslie Epstein suggests. As part of this authority, he may unleash the quote-unquote truth about UFOs so as to be the benefactor of this superior technology. This would ironically fit the counterfeit signs and wonders that the Bible actually suggests will accommodate the son of perdition. I know these theories seem wild, but given the chaos we've been seeing escalate the last couple years, is it really out of the question? It's like waking up from the Matrix and realizing we're all just bodies and goo being harvested for our energy and attention for the twisted purposes of some futuristic totalitarian satanic machine. Come quickly, Lord Jesus. So I'm making posts like this quite often just to play the algorithms here. I'm trying to get this account monetized. As you can see here, that post had 133,000 views. So it's getting out there. But the idea being that these are topics that we've been covering for a long time. And it's strange. It's just strange that they are recycled in a sense now, in the mainstream, which is not something that was on my bingo card. Although I guess it shouldn't surprise us the way things have been happening recently in the last couple of years. Let's see, here's another, just going off the cuff here. This is the account I was talking about, Invisidon, Quantum Altered X. He said, no way would a guy already suspected of being a time traveler by Invisidon, and the exact person who Biff Tannen was in Back to the Future was based on, in the exact part of the films where it says this, make this exact mistake almost 30 years later. And see, he has a split video here of Back to the Future on top with a picture of Biff Tannen, which strangely looks like Trump, and the Pleasure Paradise, and then Trump underneath him. And here's the clip. Let me play the audio for you.
You don't really see the gravity of it. I mean, as big as they look on the tube, you don't see what's going on until you come here. And what we saw at Pleasure, what a name right now. But what we just saw, we just left Pleasure for Paradise. And what we just saw at Paradise is just it's just not acceptable.
Okay. So that is weird, isn't it? Why would President Trump, when he's talking about the Paradise property, accidentally call it pleasure, which is the Biff Tannen building in, I think it's Back to the Future 2, where it's in the future and Biff, he's got a big old tower and stuff, and it's called Pleasure Paradise. Huh. Strange. Okay, so there you go. Let's what else does it say here? All right, back to the Daily Mail article about Trump being a time traveler. Celebrity and podcast host Logan Paul has even asked Trump's granddaughter, Kai, about the Lockwood book and whether it was proof that the human race was living in a virtual simulation. The teen said she was certain that Barron was not a time traveler, adding, quote, "I don't go down those rabbit holes. I don't want to go down those rabbit holes." All right. The mystery grew even stranger when conspiracy fans, they're just fans now, they're just conspiracy fans, begin to examine Lockwood's connection to the time travel theory. Hewas, an American political writer and novelist who wrote 2 children's books titled Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey and Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Burglar. However, Lockwood also created the ominous political tome, The Last President, a story which opens in New York City. Okay, so they're basically recycling all the stuff we've been talking about for 10 years, and they're making it into an article for the New York Post and for the Daily Mail, and they're getting paid for it, basically. Yeah. So we haven't gotten our check, by the way. And, it's fun to see all the TikTok content creators make their little low quality, green screen videos about this. And, hey, there's Basil. He's back. You're muted. You're still muted. You got to unmute.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was trying to type in. We had a couple producers come in while I was gone.
Oh, nice. So I was talking about this Trump thing. I was talking about how we've covered it and the strangeness of the timing of it all. Any thoughts on that? I wanted to jump back to the Thiel story so you can give your Rene Girard thing.
Oh,
I played the clip from the Hoover Institute that Peter Thiel was interviewed on a couple of years ago, and the interviewer actually quotes Rene Girard in that clip as well. So it actually worked out.
Okay,
but let's finish the Trump thing first.
Sounds good. Yeah, I don't. The Trump thing. I'm sure you mentioned this already, but the weirdest thing about the Trump thing is that it is in the motif, the mainstream media motif now, that is maybe the most frustrating for conspiracy fans, as the article put it.
Yeah.
But has been very strange lately about the mainstream media reporting on Havana syndrome and Jesus and the earthquake and the Nephilim and this kind of stuff. And then to have one, they just finally just come out and do it. Like, yeah, Baron Trump's a time traveler, and this all. They're somehow finding a way for the mainstream media to report on all the things that everybody got banned for, or laughed out for, or whatever, and they do it in such a way. And I don't know exactly, what the analysis of this is, but they do it in such a way that makes it totally normal.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There is no analysis. It's literally just repurposing everything that all the researchers and people have discussed in the fringes and just kind of bringing it into the forefront. There's nothing new about the research here. There's literally nothing groundbreaking or anything. But again, mainstreaming the idea is the thing.
They're barely even putting the these crazy conspiracy theorists think.
No, they're just conspiracy
we
theorists.
We would occasionally get articles from the mainstream, during COVID or whatever, and they would, talk about whatever, but it was in the context of watch out, these dangerous ideas are spiraling online, and monitor your husband's search history because he might be in the far right pipeline with these crazy conspiracy theories. And of course, they represent them incorrectly and they'll reframe all the details, and it's just a total mess. But with the series of articles we've had lately, it's just pretty much just a reporting on the details. Even the fact in that article you just read, they don't even say conspiracy theory. They say conspiracy fan. It's not dangerous. This isn't a dangerous idea. This isn't January 6th related crazy people like they usually would. Like they used to do an article like this, say it's dangerous right-wing conspiracy talk, and then at the end, the very last paragraph at the article would be like, January 6th, like do a paragraph on January 6th or something to just randomly connect it to how dangerous these ideas are.
Well, speaking of which, we joke that we're plugged into the simulation. Like they're just, they're harvesting our minds for the headlines. Last episode on March 11th, episode 922, we called it Cardboard Tigers. Okay, based on the whole cardboard thing going on, right? And it's a reference to paper tigers, right? People understand the reference if they're well read, I guess. Trump today said this.
Maybe they don't want to be targeted, but I say wouldn't matter if you're targeted or not, because this is a paper tiger that we're dealing with now. It wasn't a paper tiger 2 weeks ago. It's a paper tiger now.
Okay, so
it wasn't a paper tiger, and now it is.
Now it is, because hey, we called it the cardboard tiger. We made the reference. Trump picked up on it. You're welcome, Mr. President. I'm glad we can,
of course,
fight the good fight for the good old U.S. The golden age is going real well for all of us. Back to the Peter Thiel thing, real quick. Let's touch that.
Thiel thing. Yeah, I didn't necessarily have too much to go down, but there are some interesting bits here. How much of this did you read? Did you read?
I read a good chunk, but I did skip the part with Rene Girard because they do reference it in here. And let me play for you just the part of the quote from this Hoover Institute interview with Peter Thiel from a couple of years ago. The interviewer mentions Rene Girard.
Where the stakes are so extreme, where the alternative to peace and safety is, Armageddon and the destruction of all things. And then that's where peace and safety gets you way more than it would have in 1750.
Rene Girard, in I Saw Satan Fall Like Lightning, one of his books, the Antichrist boasts of bringing to human beings the peace and tolerance that Christianity promised, but has failed to deliver.
Yeah, there you go. I don't have to play.
Yeah. Well,
again.
It is interesting. There's an article here. So the long story short of the article is that, Peter Thiel, he's doing his Antichrist lectures again, like he did in San Francisco. He's giving the same lectures at the Vatican. Right. And we
went through some of the groups that are not,
so
they're basically disassociating with the whole Peter Thiel side of things. Yeah.
There were some groups who were originally involved in planning it or facilitating it or something, and they have since backed out of it, which is just interesting. One of these, there's a few of these groups. One of these groups, the Gioberti group, which describes itself as a cultural, this was not the one I wanted to do. So there's the Gioberti group. There's the Catholic University of America, and then there's the Clooney Institute.
Yeah.
Is a new initiative of the CUA to bring together leaders from the worlds of academia, religion, technology. In 2023, CUA hosted Thiel at its Washington campus for a talk on Rene Girard, the French academic. Now, I did not know this, but Rene Girard, the French/American sort of philosopher fellow, he actually knew Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel and Rene Girard, they both went to Stanford, I believe.
Stanford.
Yes, we know the classic Stanford, New World Order school there.
Yeah, the Cardinal, but for some reason their mascot is a tree. Continue.
Yeah. And it was sort of referenced in the video you just played, but one of the main things that Rene, listen to this quote, his remarks will be anchored on science and technology and will comment on theology, history, literature, and politics of the Antichrist. Religious thinkers upon whom Peter will draw include Rene Girard, Francis Bacon.
Oh, the New Atlantis, yes.
Yeah, right. Jonathan Swift, Carl Schmitt, and John Henry Newman. I'm not so sure about those last three, but Francis Bacon being a huge one as well. But apparently Peter knew Rene Girard, which is funny because with all of these philosophers, I kind of forget that a lot of them are super recent, like in the last 50 years they've been alive.
Yeah.
Because their theories that they put out there are so intertwined with what we know of the esoteric and the occult and the secret histories and things like that. So it makes me question kind of what came first, the chicken or the egg. But Rene Girard is specifically responsible for the theory of mimetic desire, which
Right.
of course memes a big deal when you're analyzing the change in culture and meme warfare and meme magic and all these sorts of things. But mimetic desire, more or less, is the understanding that when it comes to what people want, what one wants, to a degree that we can even know what we want, we usually, or we are prone to, wanting what other people want. We desire what others desire. And this goes a couple different ways, but one of the ways that it goes is you see it in political movements, you see it in religious movements, you see it in a lot of things where people don't actually really know what they want or what they think, right? And I've talked about my most longtime friend. I've talked about him a couple times, talked about him on Thursday for Canary Cry Clubhouse, where I told the story where he said, I'm kind of figuring out that things aren't what they seem and blah blah blah, but I'm just gonna kind of make the choice to just not go into it. I just want life to be normal. I just want to believe what everybody believes. I just want to believe what I'm supposed to believe. I just don't have the space or the strength to like step outside of that. And another story of him is it was something stupid political back in like 2018 or something. And it was a moment where I just pushed back on one of his political comments or something. And I know this guy. I've known him for over 30 years. And he makes some comment and I just kind of push back on it. Like, well, actually, what really makes sense is this. And he stops and he kind of stares at me. And I'm like, ready to have a conversation, a political conversation, right? It's fun. Love to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I never really considered that we wouldn't have the same thoughts about something. Like this moment of waking up. And God bless this guy. The fact that he's so, I don't know if he's like so emotionally intelligent that he's like willing to say this out loud, because it's like a crazy thing to say out loud, or if he's just, so comfortable with me that he doesn't have the filters to try to explain it a different way. But there's been a couple of these times where he's just, oh, I just thought that we all had the same ideas about things. And it's because he's a good example, and I love him very much, of the majority of people who just think and say and want what everybody agrees that they should think and say and want. And the reward of that is the point that you belong, you agree with everybody agrees with you, everybody thinks you're good, you have the right opinions, these sort of things. And this is an example of mimetic desire. And where, what do you want? Well, I don't know. Well, really, the answer is we want what we see other people wanting. And part of Rene Girard's theory of this, he's kind of the guy who coined the theory of scapegoating. You know, we talked
Yes.
about scapegoating in the ancient Hebraic ritual, where, you know, that time of the year comes around, the whole community gets together, they slaughter a lamb, and they'll ceremonially take all the sins of the entire community and they put it on a goat and they strap it to a goat and they send the goat out into the desert, ceremonially carrying away the sins of the community. And the goat, you know, ostensibly dies, or somebody finds the goat and takes the goat, you know, and now the sins are their problem. Or, you know, in the actual scripture, you know, the goat goes to Azazel, the desolate place,
Right.
etc., which spirals into some other theories we've gone through. So, you know, everybody knows the scapegoating thing, but it really stems from this guy, Rene Girard, who pointed out that most people just want what they think everybody else wants. This is part of social engineering. This is Edward Bernays. This is propaganda. This is, you know, public relations. This is everything. And Peter Thiel is so interesting because the sort of summation of his explanation is that is something that we all kind of agree on, which is the Antichrist, quote unquote, in their colloquial, you know, in his colloquial thing. The Antichrist is a guy who will come in, he'll make everybody feel good, everybody will love him, he'll make peace in the Middle East, he'll do this and that, and then somewhere in there he turns and it turns into dictatorship. But it's not dictatorship because he's, you know, actually a nasty guy and he strong arms everybody and takes control of the world. It turns into sort of this tyranny because he's so successful at telling people what they want, telling people what the danger is, and then providing the scapegoat, like providing the direction, again, mainly through social engineering and this kind of stuff, to point people's fear at a certain thing. And his whole point is, specifically with technology, you know, the Antichrist is going to want to make a dystopian, technocratic beast system, and that's bad, okay? So we need to make our own utopian, technocratic beast system so that we can avoid the Antichrist. And he makes this very logical, well-presented argument, but for someone who just can take one step back, just for 1 second, you see, he's literally doing the exact thing that he's trying to warn the world about. And, you know, it's one thing for him to hold a one-time lecture to his tech buddies in San Francisco, you know, but it's another thing that looks like he's taking the show on the road and had somehow, you know, roped in a bunch of Catholic organizations to get him to do it at the Vatican. And the fact that they're all backing out says to me that he was able to trick them in a way. Or I don't know, you know, I don't know if he was able to trick them or convince them, or maybe he had to twist somebody's arm, or maybe, I'm sure, a bunch of donations were made, you know, make it worth their while. And I don't know anything specifically more about those organizations than what is given in this article. It would be, of course, the next step to dig into those organizations deeper. But the fact that they're all kind of backing away shows that perhaps even they see now something a little weird about Peter Thiel's whole thing. This is not just the presentation, you know. He seems to be on this sort of campaign to say, I'm Peter Thiel. I want to fight against the Antichrist. Yay. So in that case, make me your Messiah so that the Antichrist doesn't come in. You know, I mean, it's sort of so obvious when you take a step back. But the fact that Rene Girard not only is a big influence and sort of the basis of his theoretical, breakdown of this, but he actually knew him at Stanford, is he's put him on the list. We got to put Rene Girard and Peter Thiel, connect them in the New World Order fantasy league thing. It's just very suspicious.
Yeah. So I was kind of skimming through this document about Rene Girard. It's on JSTOR, and it's called An Emoji for Rene Girard. And it talks about the scapegoat here, and it's a little dense, but I'll just read a couple spots here. It says that utilizing a series of anthropological assumptions, Girard speculates that the logic of social formation is exchangeable with the logic of literary narrative. We're talking about fifth generation warfare. As mimetic rivalries are to be prescribed because of their ultimately violent consequences, the mimetic rivals must displace or discharge their common violence against a convenient surrogate victim that serves as the transference object of the violence, the scapegoat. Girard explains the quote-unquote magical efficacy of the scapegoat by identifying two variants of mimetic desire: divisive acquisitive mimesis, which leads two or more individuals to desire the exact same object at the same moment in time, and unifying conflictual mimesis, which induces all of the parties to the conflict to settle upon a common rivalry or enemy whom they all wish to quote-unquote strike down. And it says historically, the ritualistic enshrinement of the scapegoat or sacrificial mechanism was the domain of religion, which is anthropologically grounded upon the intermediary of the surrogate victim, the one who must die so the community may live by being spared the apocalypse of the unlimited conflict of the monstrous doubles. So yeah, it's interesting because it's opening up to me also Peter Thiel's use. It's almost his mimetic use of the terms Antichrist and Armageddon in order to create himself. I don't know. It's weird though, because he's almost like making himself the scapegoat in a sense. Is he not? Like maybe not on purpose, but
a big part of who he scapegoats in some of the write-ups that people have made of his lectures, he specifically scapegoats a couple of different groups. One of them is people who push against technological
technology. That's right. The Luddites. The Luddites must die.
Right.
Yeah,
or anybody who wants to restrict or slow sort of AI development or AI deploying, right? Which is funny because he can get, and this is part of the smoke screen that is these sort of like hyper intellectual guys like Rene Girard. Oh my goodness, mimetic desire. Oh, it's like this, like you read there. It's incredibly dense.
It's very dense
language. It's kind of hard to get. You kind of got to look into it for a while and read it a few different times in different ways to really kind of get to the simplicity of it, which it's all very simple. It's just this smokescreen. And this entire Antichrist thing, the entire thing that he's doing, the lectures, the Rene Girard, the this, the that, it all boils down to he doesn't want to slow down technological development. He doesn't want there to be any, what is it called? When the government like
totalitarian. You mean
it's an R word. What is the R word? Jeez, my brain is fritzing out. Like the government, puts limits on how much you can create or you can manufacture or something like that. Anyways, libertarians hate it, whatever it is. But anyways, it's all a bunch of super complicated, and the fact that he's pulling from even the esoteric in the sort of
rationed
regulations. Thank you.
Regulation.
Anybody who wants to regulate technology, Essentially, he's
okay.
putting all these big words, these big thinkers, these big concepts, these religious concepts, these cosmic concepts, biblical prophecy, and he's mixing it all up to make this like crazy confetti, shoot out into the sky to cover what he ultimately wants, which is to stop AI regulation, like stop regulating my businesses, right? But he's like harnessing this religious and intellectual stuff to kind of camouflage it into being something else. And that's why in the end, when you just take a step back and listen to what he's saying, that's exactly what the Antichrist does. The Antichrist does, or the man of sin or the man of lawlessness, whoever that figure is, or the spirit of Antichrist, whatever. That's exactly what they're said to do in the biblical prophecy, which is to camouflage a very basic, sort of simple desire with religion and intellectualism and economics. And that's how the Antichrist is able to trick everybody into making, giving him control of the world, basically, which is exactly what Peter Thiel's doing, using religion and economics and politics to smokescreen the fact that he wants to have ultimate control of the world through his AI. And anybody who wants to regulate that, is standing in the way. And so they must be scapegoated, which, of course, all of this we've known for many years, even down to sort of the explicit work of some of the researchers we've interviewed and our friends of the show. And, it all boils down to making, in one way, you could say, those who want to regulate technology. Another way that you could say is like a Christian, who doesn't want the beast system to come. Those both become the enemy. And not just the enemy of AI, but the enemy of the world and the enemy of progress. And so, I don't know what's up with these Catholic organizations, but to step out of it at the very last second, it shows something really suspicious going on in the background.
Yeah. Let me read one more spot from this because I thought it was interesting. Under the shadow of consumption, freedom has been reduced to quote unquote choice. From a Girardian perspective, the illusory quote unquote trick of consumerism, aka advertising, is not to mimetically seduce us all wanting the same thing. Rather, it is to collectively hypnotize all of us into believing that we are radically individualistic while desiring exactly the same thing.
Right.
It is by this means that post-human capitalism is able to indefinitely postpone a fatal crisis of undifferentiation within technological society. The mirage of freedom through consumption imposes a deadly veil of ignorance over the abject reality of our total lack of authenticity.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, very well stated. Very well
perfect
stated.
description of what's going on.
Yeah, crazy.
Okay, what did you do? Did you do Tucker Carlson?
No, I did not
Okay.
touch Tucker Carlson. I didn't
Tucker Carlson
touch
for a
Tucker.
second.
Well, let's thank some producers.
You're right.
Yeah, let's thank producers, and then we'll go into the Tucker thing.
Let's do it. We're on the Valley for Valley model, folks. We've said it before. We'll say it again. We don't take any money from corporations, commies, cartels, governments, the Vatican, Peter Thiel. Nobody. 14 years now, we've been supported exclusively by people who get value from the show because it's an understanding. It's a covenant, okay? It's not a contract. It's a covenant. Valley for Value is very simple, but also very challenging to the exact post-human capitalist society that Girard was talking about there. And that is, we have a very complicated relationship with money, we humans, because every moment of our lives is mediated by a transactional contract. Maybe you transact by listening to a show for free so that you can get brainwashed by advertisements where trillions of dollars and the dark machinations of weird wizards like Rene Girard or Edward Bernays are implemented to give you the illusion of choice, the illusion of authenticity through advertising, et cetera, but not here. We have an understanding through the value for value model. We try to make as much value as we can. We do it as often as we can. And if you get any value from what we do, just know that we cannot and will not exist without people voluntarily taking responsibility for what they want to exist in the world and then coming in and supporting the show with their time, their talent, their treasure. A lot of ways to support the show, but the executive producers, they come in and they support any individual episode like this for $100 or more. So we like to thank them very much right off the bat here. And you might be asking, well, where can I support the show? I don't even know. You haven't told me yet. You can very easily, very quickly go to canarycry.support. So we're going to thank some of our freedom fighters here today who have made this show possible for everybody else. Let's see. I'm going to start with executive producer Richard D.
Richard D., thank you very much.
And Richard D. comes in with a very generous executive producership and a wonderful time to remind everybody that when you produce the show, in whatever amount that is, if you come in with a nice round number on the 5 or the 10s or something like that, a nice simple number, that's you telling us you'd prefer we do not disclose the amount on the air. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, or you want us to disclose the amount, make it some sort of funky number. You can very easily put 33 cents on there, or 1111, or 1234, have some fun with the number. And that tells us to disclose it. But Richard D., thank you. Executive producer Richard D., God bless you, and thank you so much for keeping the show alive.
Yep, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next up, we've got executive producer Michael B.
Michael B., thank you very much.
Executive producer Michael B. also comes in for a nice, generous round number and sends a message here and says, your channel has been a blessing in my life, so I wanted to send you a blessing. God bless you and the Canary Cry family. All praise to the Most High Yahuwah and his only begotten son, Yahusha. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Michael B.
Yeah,
Appreciate
God really moves on people, producers, over the weekend, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think it's really interesting because we had more than one, more than two even, perhaps even more than three producers explicitly comment about how God was really calling them to produce the show or up their game or get their, so each and every one of these people who produce on whatever level, it has always been the case that they are people who simply said yes to what God was asking of them. And it looks like God was really working on people over the weekend. So God bless you.
Yeah, very cool.
Of course, we have executive producer Sir LX Protocol V2 Baron of the Breen Protocol. He
Thank you very much
for $100 and 33 cents.
Illuminatus status.
He is on a 470 episode streak and a 124 episode executive producer streak.
Hey,
very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hey, Basil, one of these producers or the executive producers, knights, or are they,
they did not tell me. Do you recognize any of them?
Well, not that they were, but I believe that they might be because
we have not heard anything about it, but we will reach out. I did not get any notes.
Okay, but I do see that.
I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, we haven't heard anything. So
all right, got it.
We'll open up.
We will investigate.
Next up, we have executive producer Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Panda.
Sir Darren coming in. Thank you, Sir Darren.
Comes in for $111.11.
111.
That's right. And plus fees. Thank you, Sir Darren. And Sir Darren, he's on a streak. I think he's on a 3-episode streak now.
Hey.
He's heating up.
Heating up, Sir Darren.
And he sent a note here. Says, I was at a swim meet this weekend, and it made me think of this. Quote, endurance builds character, which gives us hope that will never disappoint us. This is the last $100 in my wallet, and it's for Gonz's spiritual grit. Now finish strong, brah.
Oh, thank you, Sir Darren. And Sir Darren sent a meme, or not a meme. It was a GIF of some backstroke, which was my event. So it did definitely open up some old wounds. Thank you, Sir Darren. Appreciate you. But yes, resilience and all of that is very true. You know, I was listening to a debate recently about what sport is like the most physically taxing, and you know, it's hard to say because every sport is different. You know, somebody was saying like motorbike or something because you got to have, you know, you can get crushed by the machine. Well, it's like, yeah, it's a physical threat. But which sport truly creates oxygen deprivation to the level that swimming does? I don't think there's any other sport.
Yeah,
backstroke's different because you're on your back, so you can breathe. But
if you get too tired, you drown. So that's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, yes, like the self-inflicted oxygen deprivation and lactic acid buildup in your body is unlike anything I've experienced in other sports. But you know, I haven't played that many sports. But thank you, Sir Darren, for reopening some of those traumas with the
encouragement and endurance. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Last but not least, we've got executive producer Jeanette R. Jeanette R. comes in.
Thank you,
and
Jeanette.
Jeanette comes in for an amount that has a very fun jingle attached to it, and she comes in for 10101.
Whoa!
1001. Amen.
Oh, the robot.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. I did not see a note from Jeanette as well, but we're so grateful to our executive producers. God always has a way of making sure that just before, you know, the ship goes down around here, suddenly we are provided what is needed to keep going. So thank you to our executive producers, and thank you to God. And we will thank our other producers later on in the show. I think we wanted to remind everybody of Sir Ike's rating and review thing. Is he doing that still?
I think so. Yeah, he said he was continuing with it. We did have a winner last episode.
That's right. Yeah,
but
go leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify or Audible or wherever you can leave a rating and a review. Go leave a rating and a review. Great way to support the show. But then you can screenshot your rating and review and email it to canarycrysupplydrop.com. Sorry, canarycrysupplydrop@gmail.com. And you'll be entered to win a big mega box of supply drop stuff. Excellent way to support the show. Excellent way to get cool stuff that you can't get any other way. Thank you, Sir Ike. And last but not least, before we move on to the next piece of news here, I want to thank CageRattlerCoffee.com for coming and supporting the show. And not only supporting the show, but
Cage Rattler Coffee.
I can't stop it.
We're value for value. Never tasted so good.
Once the coffee starts flowing, you can't slow it down.
It's a wonderful thing for the show, but it's also a wonderful thing for Canarians to have the opportunity to participate in the parallel economy. It's so rare that we really have a really good option or choice. I mean, back to Rene Girard, where, you know, choice is not being given 10 different brands of coffee that you can buy if every choice leads to the same outcome, which is giving money to a system and corporations that hate everything you believe in. They're not interested in actually, you know, keeping you healthy or how it actually tastes. You know, all these coffees that are, you know, what do? They tested all these coffees.
It's just evil coffee. You don't want evil coffee. You don't
want evil coffee. That's boils down. You want good, not evil coffee, and that's what Cage Rattler Coffee is. Canarians have done it. They have journeyed the world. They have sourced the best beans from the best places, non-GMO organic coffee beans, and they get it. They roast it. Another Canarian roasts it in very small batches, unbelievably small batches, like one bean at a time. The quality is unmatched. And then, of course, it is made available strictly to Canarians like you. so that Canarians are able to have an option that isn't evil coffee. And even better, value for value, a portion of each sale comes to support the show as well. It's good for you. It's good for us. It's good for, it's just good for the world, honestly. So go to cagerattlercoffee.com. And yes, if you were wondering, it is the best coffee. We are constantly fielding messages from people who just can't, they can't go back. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're a coffee snob beforehand. Cage Rattler Coffee will make you a coffee snob, but in the best possible way. The coffee snob that, is coffeeing for the kingdom. Coffee for the kingdom, baby.
Coffee for the kingdom. I like that slogan.
There you go. CageRattlerCoffee.com. Go check it out. It's the best. You won't be sad.
Yep.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's talk about Tucker for a moment.
In fifth generation warfare, part of what I call it a war of narratives where there's distraction, there's deception, truth, media, propaganda.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. Evil people do evil things purely for the dark joy of being evil. Evil. Go eat each other. That's the Tucker Carlson program.
Okay. Tucker Carlson, certainly one of the most interesting people for those who are awake to the fifth generation warfare. If you make a practice of trying to question every single piece of information that comes to you, even through formerly trusted sources, you have got to practice your skills on Tucker Carlson at all times. One of the most interesting characters, of course, started on Fox, or started on CNN actually, then went to Fox and then went independent. And basically,
so the other day I found out that the CIA
there are people out there who are convinced that Tucker Carlson invented the podcast, because it really wasn't until Tucker Carlson that a certain generation fully were
embraced,
fully were incentivized, and the history of podcasting is a very sensitive topic for us, of course, because we started in 2012 where nobody knew what a podcast was. You had to call it internet radio. And then when celebrities started doing podcasts, then, people started to learn what it was. And then people started doing videos on YouTube and calling them podcasts, which is not technically a podcast, but nobody even knows that now. And then it was like when Tucker Carlson started a podcast and an internet television show that suddenly pretty much everybody born, before 1980 was suddenly on board. They were podcast fiends, man. They can't stop. And look, I think a lot of good things have come from Tucker Carlson. There's also been a lot of questionable things. Of course, if you have listened to anybody sort of itemize the strange things in his past, directly connecting him not just to the CIA, but actually to specific CIA operations. And of course, notwithstanding his father's very well-known role in CIA, et cetera, et cetera. When you are awake to the fifth generation warfare, you can like somebody or not like them, but also understand that the game being played is significantly more complicated than, we would like it to be. It's just I'm thankfully everybody's kind of coming to the point where we understand now that it's not necessarily the Illuminati versus the good guys, right? It's a very complicated.
That's what they would like us to believe. Maybe that was an epoch, it was like an era where maybe more of that was sort of true, but
or maybe it's just like
so much.
Maybe that was the understanding that was useful,
right,
at the time. Even God sort of, walking his people into truer understanding. There's he can do these things in phases. But so Tucker Carlson, love him or hate him, was a huge part of the PsyOp over the weekend. And I'm going to play a video here. Much like, now this is the thing to pay attention to. We broke down the cardboard Khomeini video last week, right?
Yeah.
The perfectly executed AI video. Nobody could tell, and nobody wanted to tell. Everybody was primed and wanted it to be true. And we discovered, Gonz, that there was no footage longer than 11 seconds and didn't have this weird song behind it. Actually, I may have done this on Clubhouse. I don't remember. They were all 11 seconds. There's not a single one that was 11 seconds. And it's always very suspicious when there's less than 2 versions of a piece of media, even if just one is longer, one is shorter, just to prove that something's going on. Long story short, this was one of the clues that led us to discover that the cardboard Khomeini video was fake about 24 hours before anybody else. Now, this Tucker story started out, and I noticed that all the clips of this Tucker story were 2 minutes and 33 seconds.
Oh, interesting.
I go, interesting. There has to be a longer one. This is seriously one of the most effective questions to ask yourself when doing research, okay? You see something, you should automatically assume it's fake now, which we'll get into. And then you say, okay, is there a longer version? Is there a different angle? Is there anything? And if there's not, then that tells you a lot about the nature of the PsyOp you're interacting with. Well, this particular one, I did find a longer video. Of course, this is from Tucker Carlson's show. So, of course, there's the long version. But very, very few anybody was posting a video longer than 2 minutes, 33 seconds. So I want to play this video up until 2 minutes and 33 seconds. This will give us the gist of the current version of the Tucker Carlson PsyOp.
Hold on one second. I had to unmute for RSS listeners. Here we go.
Found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report, to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it, and that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living. And I'm not going to stop doing that, nor should I don't think. I'm also an American. I can talk to anybody. I have no secrets to divulge. So legally, I think the case is ludicrous, and I doubt it will even become a case. I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons, though, and they're pretty obvious. One is that countries tend to become more authoritarian in wartime. It's just the nature of war. People are dying. The stakes are high. People's emotions have risen to a very high point, to a crescendo. And so there's much less tolerance for any kind of dissent in the homeland. The irony, of course, is the United States fights wars on behalf of freedom, but there's always less of it here in our country during war. So that's a widely recognized phenomenon, and it's likely to happen now too. Another point to make that is worth knowing is that the USIC, the intelligence agency, spy on Americans. Now, you probably knew that, and it's been revealed a lot, including by Julian Assange and Ed Snowden, both of whom are threatened with death for revealing it, but everyone knows. But it's probably a little more widespread than most people understand, and it's outrageous. There's no justification for your government, which you own, you're a shareholder in it, you pay for it, to be violating your privacy like this, but it happens all the time.
There you go. That's
233 right there.
233. Okay, that's the the widely spread video. Now, just to review, what Tucker's saying is that before the war started, he was in contact with Iran. I don't think the president or the supreme leader, but he was in contact with someone important in Iran before the war. And what he's saying is the CIA, he says this, I have been told that the CIA is getting ready to refer me to the DOJ for an investigation and prosecution. Now, remember, the CIA, somebody told him. He doesn't say who told him. He's obviously in contact with lots of different people around the world. Iran, Russia, America, the White House. He's got all sorts of people that he talks to. Somebody told him that the CIA is coming after him. Now remember, Tucker's dad is sort of infamously a very effective CIA person. Don't know if he was exactly an agent, but it was this sort of liaison position with the news and journalism and CIA. And Tucker Carlson, while his dad was actively in the CIA, the way he says it is his dad told him to get into journalism.
Right.
Which, yes, a CIA dad would say that because that's
he knew the future.
This is a huge part of what the CIA does. So, we know Tucker is intimately connected with the CIA. Now the CIA is coming after him, he says. And we'll get into some of the other details. It's not, the image, the Polaroid of this whole PsyOp has not quite yet developed, but it is interesting to watch that basically suddenly overnight, the entire internet is against Tucker. The videos, the AI videos of him dancing with cardboard Khomeini and helping Iran and there's been a pretty big anti-Tucker sentiment since the beginning of the war because he's against the war. He's incredibly skeptical of Israel through his high-profile interviews recently with Mike Huckabee and et cetera, et cetera. He's clearly one of the most prominent voices, questioning our relationship with Israel, which of course has made him quite the target. It was like overnight this weekend, the internet's just like bursting at the seams with, Tucker Carlson, I think they're calling him.
Carlson. Actually, I think I know who coined that, but continue.
Yeah, right. Stuff like that. And again, when you see these huge swings of sentiment overnight, that should kind of, ring your bell a little bit. Now, so that's the video most were playing. Ended at 2 minutes, 33 seconds. Why don't you back it up about 10 seconds, Gonz? Because that video is actually cut mid-sentence. So even the sentence it ends on continues. And let's listen to a little bit now, keeping in mind, right? He is connected with CIA in ways that we could probably not even enumerate. We've seen the sort of PsyOp play through Tucker for a very long time, and we certainly can't ignore that. But this video ends with, the CIA is coming after me. This is what the CIA does. They spy on everybody. We all know they do it. They've been doing it for a very long time. There's no way to stop them. And so that's bad. And then let's play the rest.
There's no justification for your government, which you own, you're a shareholder in it, you pay for it, to be violating your privacy like this. But it happens all the time. And in fact, one of the reasons that CIA or people within CIA, just to be clear, it's a huge, sprawling, disconnected agency. What it does in a specific case doesn't represent what everybody in the building thinks, but there are some people who are mad at me for my views about Israel. And they have some latitude. And one of the reasons they pass on criminal complaints, in effect, to law enforcement is to justify warrants for spying on Americans. So that is an absolutely real thing. But the main reason they do it is to leak the existence of the investigation, such as it is, to the media, and then humiliate and terrify the subjects of this op. And that's, of course, happened to me repeatedly, many times.
Pause this real quick.
Including in...
So right there, you know, a huge part of the Tucker Carlson conversation is, oh my gosh, the CIA is going to get him. They're going to get him. He thinks he's going to get got. He is so busted. He knows he's in big trouble. But they cut out this part where he explains something that we all know really well, which is many times, again, there's this whole sort of structure of hierarchy about how, quote, an investigation gets done. You know, it's a criminal referral. Not that necessarily it's an investigation by the CIA and blah, blah, blah. But he lays out one of the most important ways that the media is sort of weaponized, and specifically in the context of lawfare. And we saw this a lot with Trump too. Sometimes a leak about an investigation goes out specifically just to create the news about it, you know, to start the sort of dominoes tumbling, to make something very inconvenient for somebody. The funny thing with this one is it seems that Tucker Carlson is the one leaking that there's an investigation about him. So he's sort of describing the process by which he himself is doing. He's kind of describing his own process, which in the logic of his rundown here would mean CIA Tucker is leaking an investigation by the CIA specifically to get the rumor mill going, flare everybody up, change the conversation, get it, create the news by leaking the news. Now, he says someone he knows told him that the CIA is referring him to the DOJ, but him saying this was the first anybody ever heard of it. So he himself is doing the role that he says the CIA is doing, or someone in the CIA. And I even love what he says right off the bat too, because he just finishes with like, the CIA is wrong and that's bad and nobody should do that. But not everybody's bad in the CIA. There's a lot of people I love in the CIA. Some people in the CIA can do whatever they want. They're really getting me here. It's just so kind of this like, I don't know, in a similar way that, I will very earnestly and honestly say out loud and get yelled at for it by saying, there's certain things I'm grateful to the CIA for. Gas is cheaper than anywhere else in the world. America's power. We got it. Oh, dude. If you don't think that America is the cheapest gas pretty much in the whole world, then you haven't gone anywhere else. Other countries sell gas by the liter, and it'll be like 2 or 3 times more what America spent. So I get it. Gas is expensive. I get it. It's not fun. It's all relative. But America has the cheapest gas in the world, maybe besides like the guy who lives next to the oil well in Saudi Arabia. So anyways, you get kind of what he's doing here. On one hand, if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the logic here. The logic is he himself is leaking the info about an investigation. In this leak, he says, sometimes the CIA will leak info about an investigation just to cause trouble for somebody. And there it is. Okay, let's keep going.
Famously, 2021, when I was still at Fox News and trying to set up an interview with Vladimir Putin, and the NSA, I heard from someone there, had grabbed my text messages with an American citizen and had leaked them to news outlets. Those texts were basically my attempts to set up an interview with the foreign head of state, and they leaked them to the New York Times in order to stop the interview, which they successfully did, by the way. And they admitted that they were spying. I mean, this is not a fantasy. It actually happened. They did it again 2 years later. My second attempt to get a Putin interview, I managed to get it anyway, and they've done it since. And so when you get a call from a reporter who knows the contents of your texts, it's pretty clear something's going on. None of this, in my judgment, as of right now, is a huge threat to me. So I'm not making this video to complain about it or whine or ask you to send me money because I'm under attack. I'm saying it because it's true, and you should know what your own government is doing, and you should know what the stakes are. And you should know that a lot of what happens in this country that affects outcomes happens behind the scenes. Some of it is legal, some of it is not, including what I'm describing now. But it has an effect. And the intel agencies, again, not everyone in the intel agencies.
Not everyone.
Because there are decent, hardworking Americans who work in the intel agencies are Americans, just like there are decent, hardworking Americans who work at the DMV.
Love the CIA.
But there are also people with agendas and grudges and no sense of restraint who are happy to misuse the power they have, granted them by our elaborate secrecy laws, to hurt fellow Americans for ideological reasons. That is entirely real. That's the story of Russiagate. And it's likely that things like that will begin to happen at greater scale now. So you should just know that going forward.
Okay.
And that's where he ends it there. Okay. So, a little bit different than what's been sort of blowing up online.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to get into all the twists and turns about the whole thing, but just to include one of the theories that was flying around. Now, let's just summarize. Tucker Carlson is leaking that there's a investigation on him. Some people don't believe it at all. However, history shows that they're pretty much always spying on Tucker Carlson's text messages. Hello.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's happened with Putin.
I like how he's like, oh, I got the Putin interview anyway. It's like, you think, how long do you think it would take for us to get an interview with Putin?
It would never happen in
it
a
would
million
never
years.
happen.
No,
it would never happen.
I mean, by God's grace, who knows? If God wants Putin on this show, then he'll be on this show.
God can make it happen. But other than God,
it
wouldn't happen naturally. It wouldn't happen with a few phone calls, and you couldn't rebel against the man to just make it happen anyway.
So a lot of people are think that he's making it up. That's one way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Other people think that it's true, and they're happy that he's going to get in big trouble. Now, of course, the question is this. What was the nature? I mean, you think of what exactly would make him some sort of traitor, right? I mean, if he was telling Iran military plans, if he was, even advocating in weird ways, trying to trick, I don't know, the president or something, if he was whatever, by all accounts, he was in contact with people in Iran before the war started. That's actually not that weird or surprising. I'm sure, similar to the Putin thing. But what was he talking to them about? Now, one interesting thing was that right before the war started, Tucker was invited to the White House, to the Oval Office, to talk with Trump. And after this meeting with Trump, the Iran war basically immediately started.
Now that was
maybe it was maybe it was like a day, maybe it was 2 days, but it was right after Tucker. Now there's all these theories. Fun theories, by the way. I mean, they're certainly fun theories. One of the theories was that it was propagated by Dave Smith, but a lot of other people, was that Trump knew that Tucker was in contact with the Iranians. So Trump, like he's done before, set a canary trap. We've talked about canary traps with Trump before, right? Where a canary trap is where you think there's some sort of leak, or you think somebody's a mole, or you think whatever. And so you purposefully give them a piece of information, or if, there's a group, you give each person different information, and then you see which version of the information leaks, and that's how you can tell which one is leaking. So it's kind of a version of a canary trap. The theory is Tucker got called into the White House. He and Trump had a conversation. Trump gave him information that maybe Tucker thought the Iranians would want or would benefit from, and, waited until Tucker told the Iranians the information so that they could start the war. And this was specifically regarding Khomeini. The theory was that Trump gave Tucker some information thinking that Tucker would tell the Iranians a piece of information that would sort of lure the Iranians out of the bunker, specifically Khomeini. Like Tucker was going to tell Khomeini something that would make Khomeini not think he's going to get killed and like wander out into the street, and then they missile him or whatever, right? So there's some logic to that. The problem is there's nothing. It's just sort of a theory that people put out there. There's no data. Now, it was interesting timing that Tucker had a meeting with Trump, and then the war started, but who knows? It could be all sorts of things. Now, along with that, the weirdness, the instability, the sort of mushy series of theories here, that is being challenged by Axios reporter, what's this guy's name? Mark Caputo. So listen to me when I say this. It's not being reported by Axios. It is being tweeted by Axios reporter Mark Caputo. And he says, the online chatter about Tucker Carlson looked like quite a story. He was being spied on by the CIA, and knowing that, Trump treated him as a useful idiot by feeding him disinfo that fooled the Iranians about the looming February 28th attack. But top admin officials say that it's BS. So Mark Caputo is claiming that he has sources in the White House that say that that's not anything. That's BS. And his next tweet here says, specifically, I'm told, 1, there is no CIA investigation of Carlson. 2, in his meeting, the two politely disagreed, and Trump held to his position Iran was a threat and didn't mislead him. Said one source, Trump wasn't participating in an op. So somebody in the White House says that the CIA is not investigating Carlson, which is kind of a silly comment on its own, because the CIA does lots of ops that they don't tell the White House about. I mean, we've documented this for many years. So who knows if that's correct or not. But he's saying, no, in the meeting, they just had a meeting. Basically, Tucker advocated for Trump to not go to war with Iran. Trump advocated that he needs to go to war and that the threat isn't real. And then that was that. 3, an addendum for folks saying that the CIA wouldn't investigate, but would only refer to DOJ for that. The NSA or another intel agency made the reference. I checked that as well. Same answer, no. So it's getting a little in the weeds here.
I gotta be honest. My eyes were just like, because this reminds me of like the nuances of a really bad reality TV show, and it feels like reality a lot of this podcast. Yeah, like podcasts they have like, or not podcasts, but the reality TV they have like these plot lines. And then
it's all like kind of about the relationship.
Yeah, right. It's like a personal thing going on. And it really, ultimately, it doesn't have any effect on the general public, although, it's sort of framed that way at the beginning. But the deeper you go, it's just kind of like, what are we even talking? What are we arguing about anymore?
So,
like, okay.
So I think you're pointing out the perfect thing.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it goes back and forth. Tucker is leaking the thing that he accuses the CIA of leaking. And so blah, blah, blah. Other people who hate Tucker say, oh, either, oh, he's busted, or he was used as an idiot, by Trump. And then Axios reporter apparently talking with the White House saying, no, none of that is true. Basically, nothing is true. He's not even being, investigated by the CIA. So it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But it basically, literally amounts to nothing. It amounts to fifth generation warfare.
Oh, so this is a nothing burger. So we just spent 15 minutes.
There's a little bit more fun. There's a little bit more fun to it. So hold on a second. But this is the point, okay? Because I know for a fact that a lot of our people are getting really wrapped up in this. So I hope that so far I have been able to illustrate to you that not just the claim or the claims are sort of missed in the air, but the actual process. They say the process is the punishment, right? This is another, when it comes to lawfare, right?
Yeah.
Suing people or whatever, the government doing something, the process is the punishment. A lot of the lawfare against Trump was the process is the punishment. A dozen of the cases brought against him amounted to nothing. They got thrown out, but it was the process, having to go through it, was the punishment, right? He's not going to spend any jail time, but just making his life horrible is the punishment. And that's a bit how fifth generation warfare works. That's a bit how the PsyOp, it's almost like the foundational level of PsyOp that we can, what this whole thing with Tucker illustrates is something that we've kind of known in our hearts for a while, which is the drama, the script. I mean, not just Tucker, Candace, Alex Jones, blah, blah, blah. All these characters have gotten way larger than life. They're international, they're having international fights with governments around the world. It's just like this huge reality TV show, right? But it's when you follow the roadmap of the PsyOp that so many people are so locked into on whatever side that they're taking, and people are so passionate.
They are. This is what I ignored this because I saw the emotional reaction from all the different sides, and I immediately recognized the point you're trying to make, and I actually ignored all of this thing.
Well, it's fun to it's fun to actually analyze it, right? So for the practice of analyzing it, look, we've all felt in our hearts that, geez Louise, they are just yanking us left and right just to get us to be annoyed or to tire us out, so we stop paying attention, right? So that they can do whatever they want, because everybody kind of disconnects because it's just so whatever. It's like so slippery, it's hard to hold on to. But something about this Tucker one specifically had, the roadmap was so easy to follow from the very beginning, from his very first video of like, oh, we're just watching pure theater. And it's theater where everybody like the impression is that everybody hates each other, right? We've talked about this with, the elites for a long time.
Right.
They at least will have this theatrical performance, or even get less obscure, politicians, Democrats, Republicans, right? This theatrical war that is just like gets nastier and nastier, and people get more pumped up and more invested. But in the end, they're all playing golf with each other on the weekends, right? This is sort of the next generation of that, because it's not necessarily politicians, but it's even this more amorphous, this more sort of abstract version where it's just podcasters. But they're not just podcasters, right? They're internationally renowned commentators that are actually in a position to make a difference. Like that's what Tucker is, really. In a way, he has a lot in common with a politician, because he's said it himself. There's clips of him saying it himself, like he's in this position where he can talk to Putin, and he can talk to Iran, and he can make a difference and communicate and da 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 da. Spoken like a true CIA guy. Just a random guy who has the ability to like change the course of history. Now, another fellow like that is Glenn Greenwald, and Glenn Greenwald kind of represents a similar faction to Tucker, and that is the highly Israel skeptic faction. So Glenn Greenwald has this headline here: CIA prepares criminal referral of Tucker Carlson as Israel and its loyalists demand his arrest. Dun, dun, dun. And this kind of follows a little bit the purpose of that Tucker Carlson, because he even ended it with, hey, why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because you're going to see a lot more of it. It's going to keep happening. We're going to keep playing this script. We're going to keep freaking you out, his whole purpose of leaking his own investigation and then explaining how the CIA leaks investigations is to fill the bucket of media, of attention, fill the bucket of like media hold on people's brains. And just for fun, but Glenn Greenwald is bringing it, but from the perspective of like, the assassination of someone's character who disagrees with the policies of Israel. Who do you think is, involved in that? Fun enough, just to show it on the show. You had also InfoWars. Okay. Everybody's jumping in on this one, baby. InfoWars. White House denies CIA is targeting Tucker Carlson. So you have Glenn Greenwald kind of taking the Israel perspective, specifically the Israel did it perspective. You have InfoWars taking the White House perspective. No, the White House denies it. Okay. And they wrote about 100 paragraphs. Sorry, about 50 paragraphs. I read them all through. They're basically taking the side of the White House that is not whatever, that it isn't what it sounds. But then you have Axios, Mark Caputo, kind of taking this mainstream, and the fact that it's Axios is important too, because Axios is the outlet who doesn't write articles. That's their thing. They don't write articles. They format their articles, I don't know what else to call them, as briefs, right? Their whole thing is like, we just give the facts. Here's what happened. This is why it matters. Blah, blah, blah. It's like you could print it out and it would look like a brief, like a document almost, not an article. So you've got sort of a representative from every spectrum of the fifth generation warfare jumping in on something that is so clearly from the beginning, from the original video of Tucker Carlson, imaginary. And welcome to the end of the world, folks, because it is finally so clear to me. It is finally the veil has fallen off, and you could almost graph out this whole thing from every perspective and just praise God that he has us in the position that he does have us in. And I don't just mean Gonz and I mean everyone listening to this, because if you're wondering, as we move into the beast system, what freedom even means, this is what freedom actually means. This is what, quote unquote, breaking out of the matrix actually means. It's not, and not to point any fingers here, but what it is not is, oh, this is too complicated. I don't even care. Oh, it's just, I don't know. Like, I'll pay attention to something else because blah, blah, blah. I feel like that's the desired effect of a lot of this. But when you can sort of, almost like one of those 3D puzzle books or whatever, where you kind of like relax your eyes, you know,
Are the illusion books where you can see the different 3D
the
shapes
magic.
on like a
Yeah,
the
right.
swirl.
Where it
Yeah.
looks
Okay.
just like a pattern, but then you like step back or something and
Yeah, you
relax
start
your eyes,
cross-eyed. That'll
and you can
really get you
see
going.
the image in the pattern.
Yeah.
I believe that if someone really pays attention to this Tucker Carlson thing, yeah, it just looks like the same old pattern, the same nonsense. You know, you try to look at it, it's just squiggly lines. Oh, go find something else to pay attention to. But if you know how to adjust your eyes perfectly, you can see that there's a significantly deeper 3D image hidden inside this sort of thing here.
Yeah.
And I see it as a mistake. I think we're in this age when, everybody's woken up, right? Everybody's waking up. Okay, everybody's a conspiracy theorist. Everybody's waking up. You don't think that they're totally on that? You don't think that they
Of course they
saw
are.
this coming or even participated in everybody
of course.
waking up? They know what they're doing, man. And this Tucker Carlson thing is the perfect combination of everybody who suddenly understands. I mean, especially Tucker fans, but that class of people who in the last 5 years, right? Last 3 years, they're since the Epstein files, and they're going, I get it. And they're kind of like, conspiracy theorists now or whatever, in the sort of mainstream way. They're going to look at this and it's got everything in the recipe to totally lock them in and make it seem like the most important conspiracy, right? Or at least one very important conspiracy in the whole thing. It's like perfectly dialed to attract and hold the attention of the newly understanding people. But I implore everybody to take a step back, relax the eyes, don't look away, but look at it, see it in the bigger picture. I think there's a key to some serious understanding, that's freedom of your mind, man. Not to just get bored and walk away, but to actually see it for what it is, the hidden 3D image of a sailboat and a bunch of squiggly lines. So,
yeah, I think I went cross-eyed right at the beginning. I saw what it was, and then I walked away.
It's the new era. I believe there's a new era where being a regular conspiracy theorist is just mainstream and now totally controlled by the CIA. There's another level of understanding, and there has to be. There has to be, right? If there wasn't, then there would be no hope. But there is hope. And there's another level of this understanding when being a conspiracy theorist is mainstream. There's a next level, and that doorway, if this Tucker thing is not the key or the door, it is certainly the roadmap to gaining more freedom for your mind and your spirit and what's going on today.
Yeah. Well, they're leaning into the whole idea. I mean, either side, it doesn't matter. Tucker Carlson just posted this a few hours ago. I think it's a sit-down interview with Glenn Greenwald, as you mentioned. Throughout the West, criticizing the Netanyahu government is now a crime punishable by imprisonment. Glenn Greenwald on the end of free speech. And they go on here with the full interview. They talk about all these issues.
I listened to about 20 minutes of that before the show. It came out this morning.
Yeah.
And it's when I left off, they were talking about the Trump laws in the U.S. About anti-Semitism and the universities, a bunch of DEI stuff. Excuse me. DEI getting crushed in universities, but then this like new version of DEI specifically for Jews.
Great.
In the university.
Well, I will say the one thing I did see was, how anytime there's a conflict or like maybe an argument or something at a party or something going on, some dramatic thing going on, there's always someone that walks in and tries to kind of, either not to break it up, but to stoke
make
the
it about
argument.
them.
Yeah, make it about them, saw this, Basil. I think I figured it out. Laura Loomer. At Tucker Carlson. Do you understand what is punishment for treason? Do you know, Basil? Does Tucker Carlson understand what the punishment for treason is? Because according to Laura Loomer, just so you are aware, if you suspect someone you know in the U.S. is working on behalf of Iran or any other adversary during a time of war, you can and should report them to the FBI and DOJ. It's the America First thing to do. Interesting. She used America First as the phrase there. We need to bring back McCarthyism. And I don't know if she knows what that means. And start rooting out traitors.
Root them out.
Root out the traitors.
The golden age of McCarthyism.
She goes even further. She quote tweets Drew Pavlov. I don't know who that is. Drew Pavlov says, regime change Cuba, which, by the way, Cuba, allegedly electricity's out. Trump just came out and said, it'll be a privilege to take over Cuba, which is part of the whole technocrat map there. Drew Pavlov said, regime change Cuba and throw Tucker Carlson in prison. Total war against Leninism. Destroy the communist bloc. Uproot the subversives. And Laura Loomer quote posted, and she said, we are going to need to expand Guantanamo, implying that
so is Tucker a Leninist in this one?
Tucker Carlson's
destiny,
his destination is Guantanamo for war crimes.
Oh, geez. There's
a
secret seeing eye puzzle for you. Tucker is a Leninist and a communist.
Leninist communist, yes. And I do think that it is ironic, Basil, that Laura Loomer today, she posted, I had a magnificent day at Taj Mahal. And she's in India. It's the most incredible monument I have ever seen in my life. A monument of love. Built with perfect symmetry and detail. India is one of the most beautiful countries I've ever had the pleasure of traveling to. Highly recommended. And there she is in front of the Taj Mahal.
Oh, she's getting paid by India.
Oh, we've talked about India's role and all.
Yeah, no, India. It was only sort of a blip on the radar, but it was confirmed that amongst the parade of governments paying American, influencers for good press, India was doing that quite heavily. I think it's about 6 months ago or
explicitly. So Laura Loomer claimed that she's the one that reported to the DOJ and FBI. What's the Tucker shenanigans?
It's interesting. Nobody's actually making any claims about what they think Tucker told the Iranians.
Yeah, no.
I've not.
It doesn't matter.
You would think Laura Loomer would be like, Tucker told them the attack was coming or something. Like nobody's even making a claim about what they think happened. All right.
Yeah. Well, just a reminder that Laura Loomer was suspended from Barry University in 2015 for starting an ISIS fan club. So, just a reminder of her past there.
Just a reminder.
Just a reminder.
Just remember, and don't forget, Tucker is CIA, people.
Yes, I know. This is the thing that kind of drives me crazy is that I guess that's why I decided to step away, was because you see the CIA on one side and then you see the CIA. It's like the Spider-Man meme when they're pointing at each other. That's kind of what's going on here. So that's why I see it as really like a reality TV show. The podcast sphere has been taken over by CIA, and they turned it into one big reality show where there's accusations and people yelling at each other, and it's all the mimetic things that
they want podcasters to go to jail as if they're like Hillary Clinton or something.
They're the most important people in the world right now. They are the journalists of today. So speaking of which, the dead are rising as prophesied.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
This is according to International Business Times. An opinion piece, which is interesting. Verified Jeffrey Epstein TikTok account amasses 1.2 million followers in hours and only follows Trump and Netanyahu. Did you hear about this one, Basil? This is,
I did.
Taking the internet by storm. A verified TikTok account bearing the name of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein appeared on the platform on March 14th, Pi Day. Interesting, 2026. It comes full circle, Basil. Accumulating over 1.2 million followers within hours. The account operating under the handle @Jeffrey. How do you get @Jeffrey? Oh, I get it. You buy the TikTok gets sold from China to Oracle. Oracle is headed by a guy who's very friendly with Israel. It displayed a blue verification tick and carried a bio reading, quote, "Yes, I'm alive," while its link directed users to a Telegram group called Epstein's group. Gee, do you really want to get in there? I mean, come on. The account followed only two other profiles on the platform, those of U.S. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Tech entrepreneur Mario Naufal. Is Mario Naufal a tech entrepreneur? That's a really interesting term. Flagged the account on X, writing, quote, "A verified Jeffrey Epstein account just appeared on TikTok. 1.2 million followers." Okay, we did the same thing. His post contributed significantly to the account's spread, drawing millions of views. Yeah, Mario Naufal getting tips about the Jeffrey Epstein account on TikTok to get it out there. Sure, okay. Numbers that do not add up. A closer look at the account raises immediate questions. At the time of writing a search on TikTok for the @Jeffrey handle, returns an account with approximately 1 million followers and around 3.9 million likes, noticeably lower than the figures circulated online. Still a lot for just a couple days. More telling is the discrepancy between the total likes displayed on the profile and the actual cumulative engagement across its individual posts. Which some observers noted amounted to only about 800,000, a fraction of what the profile counter showed. One user suggested the total of likes under all posts amounted to roughly 800,000, while the profile displayed over 4 million, leading to speculation that the account may have previously belonged to a different verified creator who subsequently changed the username to Jeffrey Epstein and repopulated it with new content. This theory is consistent with TikTok's own support documentation, which states that changing a username should trigger a removal of the verification badge, though it also acknowledges this is not always instantaneous, and on rare occasions, the badge may temporarily remain. And they have some videos on here, and it says here, the account's first video showed a brief overview of what appeared to be a prison cell with the caption, "Help," superimposed on the footage. Subsequent posts included a plane resembling a Boeing 727 of the type reportedly owned by Epstein, along with short clips of beaches, tropical vegetation, houses, and ocean views filmed on a smartphone in first-person perspective.
Okay, so people are not under the impression that this is real.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think people are. There's levels. It's a bell curve, Basil. It's a bell curve that some people believe it's real on the edges, but most people are recognizing that there's something a little bit more suspicious going on here.
Well, I mean, I don't have it right in front of me. Maybe I need to open it up because we're dealing with so many we've crossed over into the era of not is it AI? Like AI is good enough now that you have to assume it's fake until proven true. But a lot of people aren't there yet. A lot of people are still under the impression that it's real unless you find some AI mistake.
Right. A sixth finger on a hand or something.
And that's a very subtle change that some people are getting there. I hope everybody listening here listens and understands. From now on, assume it's fake. Don't assume it's real and then look for an AI mistake, because the AI mistakes are basically gone. You have to assume it's AI until proven real, which again doesn't seem like a big deal, but this is going to affect basically every day of your life now if you're someone who goes on the internet. And we've pointed this out in recent examples, but the examples just keep getting more and more intense.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of this started with, and by the way, the Economic Times also carrying this story, and also the footage that I saw before any of this kind of went viral was somebody claimed to film Jeffrey Epstein driving in a car,
this one was pretty good. I mean, this is very similar to the thing. Yeah, this is a guy in South Florida filming while he's driving, and this one's slow motion. He pulls up on this convertible, and and looks very much like Jeffrey Epstein driving the convertible. It is undecided if this is just a guy who looks like Jeffrey, or again, I looked at it about 10,000 times and cannot find any evidence of AI without, like, I don't know, going into the spectroscope or something, or like the metadata or something, but that's going to be impossible. Or it could just be a guy that looks unfortunately similar to Epstein, but people are convinced.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's sort of the thing right now is nothing you see, especially online, can be believed. And that brings us to, I guess, our last story here, more or less.
PsyOps.
This is concerning the alleged proof of life of Bibi Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm taking this from Hindustan Times because why not? I mean,
CIA.
CIA.
What's up?
Cafe shares proof after Grok calls Netanyahu's coffee shop video deep fake. Okay, so basically for the last week or so, we've been hearing rumors on the internet that Benjamin Netanyahu was killed in a missile strike from Iran. That was the narrative.
Was it true that his brother died? Was that true, or was that fake too?
I don't know. I think the part of the story. So the thing that's crazy is that and of course, every state account, if it's Iran, if it's Turkey, if it's whatever, they're all propaganda heads. So you can't believe any of them. But I believe the Iranian state account came out and said that it's been verified. Netanyahu died. His wife died. Potentially his son died because his son hadn't posted on X in over a week. And his son was very active on X. So that is strange that he just stopped posting all of a sudden after, I believe, the 8th of March. But so that's been the narrative, that some of his top guys may have been taken out in this regard. So that was the swirling rumors for about a week. And then just for timing's sake too, just to, I've been posting a lot of thoughts on many different issues on X, trying to get that thing monetized. I'm unemployable, Basil, in the regular normie world. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing monetized. But anyway, I posted a couple days, literally the night before the Bibi Netanyahu proof of life video came out. And let me just share with you what I wrote. Let's see, what did I say here? Okay, I said, and this is regarding the Netanyahu thing here. I said, honestly, at this point, does it even matter? How do we know the guy who might step in front of the camera next time is really the same guy? We can't, because we live in the age of deceit. Between AI capabilities, hyper-realistic prosthetic masks, human cloning possibilities, literally the only way for the public to know if any given politician or institutional leader is who they say they are is via publicly transparent genetic biometric testing standards, which unleashes the most technocratic dystopian scenario for the world. It stinks that we have to assume that everything is a lie. Everything we see and hear on social media, including everything on this application. And I have this clip from a movie, of course.
Everything a lie. Everything you hear, everything you see.
That's right. I'm playing the meme game, Basil. I'm playing the mimetic game, posting on X there. So that's what I said. Basically, the next time this guy steps in front of a camera, how do we even know he's the real guy or same guy? The next day, Basil. The next day, Benjamin Netanyahu posts a video from a cafe in Israel. And it says here, amid swirling social media rumors about the alleged death of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a cafe that recently hosted the leader has shared photos and a message about his visit, offering another indication that he remains active and well. The Jerusalem Cafe, the Sataf, the SATAF, Sataf, posted images on Instagram showing Netanyahu enjoying coffee during a visit. The post quickly drew attention online as speculation about the Israeli leader's well-being spread across social media platforms. Quote, "We are very happy to host the Prime Minister and his office in Sataf today. Know which bakery to visit," the cafe wrote alongside the photos. And it goes on here. The establishment also expressed hope for peace amid the ongoing conflict in the region, yada, yada, yada. And it goes on and talk a little bit about the whole thing. Now, the deep fake AI deepfake claims were obviously immediately people were pointing out this and that, different things. The coffee didn't spill when he picked it up. His pocket, when he put his hand back in the pocket, the part of his jacket moved weird. But it's a lot less.
But
It's almost pointless. It's almost like pointless fodder. Like that's not going to prove anything one way or another.
Even the way, like, it's different. It's tough because we're just coming out of an era where you can say something like to listeners, to people just listening, and you can say his jacket moved weird when he put his hand in his pocket, right? And we've all seen videos, and we can imagine what a bad AI of a jacket messing up would look like. It doesn't look anything like that. Like, it's totally, I don't know, man. People are convinced this is AI. I'm telling you, if people say they're like, they got such a good eye, they could totally spot it, this is totally AI, they're lying, or they're lying to themselves. Or
well, there were a lot of people who decided to use the moment to harvest, farm some engagement. And yeah, I saw a lot of posts that said in the text, like, I looked at it, it's totally legit. There's nothing AI about it. But then you look at the photo they post, and they put like a Sasquatch in the back, or what I mean. There's something fun just to get people engaged in the conversation. So good on people for really kind of taking the opportunity to farm that engagement. But yeah, I mean, just in general, it's kind of like, what are we doing here? What are we? At the same time, at the same time, I am also like, how do we don't, there's no way for us to really know. And of course there's like cooperative, they're doing what they can to make it seem like it's legit. I saw other people posting videos of walking into the Sataf, which, I mean, I pointed out, which I thought was just for fun. I don't know, some people may have taken it seriously, but there was the latte when he picked it up, how it foams over a little bit, no spillage. That hand control of the cup is quite remarkable. If you take a look on for people watching.
It's foam.
I get it. It's foam.
Spill over.
The other thing I thought was funny was the cup, because the place is called Sataf, the angle of the cup that Netanyahu holds the cup up, you can see the SATA and then part of the F looks like Satan, Basil. That looks like it says Satan right there. I mean,
chat are trying to list out all the issues. I'm telling you, you're wrong. Okay. He takes a sip. Oh, the cup doesn't go down.
The same cup.
If you've got a hot cup of coffee and he's making a video, he takes a sip. It could have even been a fake sip. All right. He's making a video to try to prove that he's alive. Just because you can't visually see the amount of coffee go down on a tiny sip of coffee does not mean that it's AI. And look, okay, let me say this. It's an example of the cardboard Khomeini problem.
Right.
The
epistemological problem.
People want it to be AI so badly. We have been trained to we've been trained to spot AI, and we've been trained to want AI with certain things. The cardboard Khomeini, everybody wanted it to be true. Nobody questioned it. It was perfect as far as AI construction was considered. AI can be totally imperceptible now, but we want it to be AI so badly that we like invent clues in our heads and try to like apply it. I'm just telling you, the place to be right now is not thinking you're an expert at catching AI.
No, that's a losing battle right there.
The other side of it is whatever clip you're looking at, you don't know if somebody put that into AI and had it do a little mess up on purpose. If I was Iran, I would take a perfectly real proof of life from Bibi. I would take that video, put it into AI and say, mess up his jacket pocket and make the coffee stay the same, and then go. And then it's just going to do it. You don't know how many layers of tomfoolery a video has gone through. That's what I'm saying. Do not trust any of it. Just because you saw one video that showed one thing or a different thing, you're playing yourself. You're putting yourself in a position to be played. Okay. Now, look, if you just want to have fun, if you don't really care, whatever. It's the internet. Do whatever you want to do. But there's no epistemologically zero way for you to ever tell between AI or not AI again. And not even AI or not AI. Because again, we could take this square of me right here, pull it out, pop it into AI, say, make a weird hair coming out of Basil's ear and make it wiggly like an AI hair, and then replace it. Just because the AI hair has been included doesn't mean that this didn't happen. We just need to get comfortable, and I know it's difficult. We need to fully embody, we need to know in our bones that nothing you ever see ever again will be able to be fully discerned whether it's real or not. Just get comfortable with that, okay? Because if you don't just get comfortable with that, you're going to get caught in a PsyOp after PsyOp after PsyOp, and you're going to invest yourself. You're going to invest your time, your emotions, your reputation, your everything, and just don't invest in it like that. We have higher things to care about. There is a spiritual war going on beyond any illusion that you can possibly come across. Become comfortable now.
Okay, I think this octopus hand video is real, by the way. So here's the problem. The problem is that, you know, there's no line between a troll and like a serious analysis anymore, especially on places like X, right? And look, I'm playing into it a little bit as my account. I will tell you when I'm serious, or you can probably tell if you know me. But if you don't know me, you might not be able to tell if I'm joking or if I'm being serious in certain posts. And that's just the nature of the world. Now, the PsyOp might be, and I kind of felt this coming on because so many people were saying he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. I was like, he's gonna do like a public thing, and then, you know, people are gonna feel like they have they will be in denial, and then, you know, I guess the cope is that everything's AI. This little thing is AI. There's another one where he's walking around in the back, you know, meeting people, and his ring disappears, and, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. And the people that are making some of those edits, like you said, and maybe running that through AI to make it look more AI or whatever, they are participating in the PsyOp, whether they think they are or not, whether they think they're just trolling or having fun or, you know, farming engagement. Part of it, yes, but you know, I talked about this a couple of years ago. We are in this era where everybody is participating in the intelligence operation one way or another, whether you're assisting one side, trying to expose another, or whatever it may be. It's just part and part with how the technological revolution is bringing everybody's attention to this place where you can't trust anything anymore. And I mean, personally, I know you kind of looked at it and said, well, it looks legit and whatever. I'm pretty agnostic. I just don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know one way or another. Allegedly, Netanyahu was not at the council thing that happens every week. He wasn't there last week. Usually he leads it. He wasn't here this week. It doesn't mean anything. It just means he wasn't there. He could be alive. It doesn't mean he's dead. But again, man, I don't know what's going on with this stuff. I don't really necessarily care ultimately. But I think it's important to keep in mind that there is, like you said, it is a spiritual war, and something greater is going on here. And it's not just whether, you know, BB is alive or dead. And personally, I don't want anyone to die. You know, I don't want anybody to die in these moments in war and tensions and politics. And that's not my thing. And I know many of you feel that way out there as well. Maybe not. I don't know. There's some accounts that are really excited about BB getting killed. But yeah, I just don't think that's the appropriate heart to have in a moment like this. Now, one thing that people are not talking about, or maybe they are talking about.
I miss the days where we could just... We would sit down, we'd look at a picture of Biden, and the biggest question of the day was, is he wearing a mask?
Yeah.
Back in the days when trying to convince your normie friend that they had fully convincing masks back in the 60s, and the CIA had done, back when it just old 6'7" Biden walking down. It's just a guy in a mask. Remember those good days, the innocent days, when we just, maybe it was a guy wearing a mask. I miss those days. We need to bring back masks. And
bring back, look at that. You've been psyoped into saying the words. We need to bring back masks, man. It's a losing, it's a lose-lose situation in this psyop, no matter which way you go.
Well, and the worst part is too, for instance, with the BB thing, you could just have a guy in a very high quality BB mask,
super high quality. Yeah,
you could just do that. They've had this for decades and decades. They have fully 100% high quality masks that you could sit across a table from somebody and think that they were the person of the mask. This is decades old, okay? And if you're just coming into this space without knowing that, welcome. You've got some history to brush up on. But I just miss the day of the masks. And part of me wonders, with all the AI that, what nobody's doing with the Netanyahu video with the coffee is looking to see if it's a mask. Okay. It's all about his fingers. It's all about the cup. It's all about the coffee. It's all about the shelf. Just look if it's a mask. And then God help us if they ever figure out to do a mask and then put that through AI to make sure you'll never know if it's a mask or not. I don't think I'm the only one feeling this, Gonz, because yesterday I put some of these links in here for you. It was really random. I had not really caught up on the whole, everything we were going to talk about today yet. But on my X account or my X timeline, it was like link after link, post after post, people putting these videos of the masks, the ones you're playing right here, and saying, this should be illegal. These should be illegal. It was like 6 of them basically in a row, or at least in the same day, of all these different accounts. And they're the accounts that are kind of like generally in the like right-wing truther milieu or whatever. They all basically said the same thing. They had a video of some guy showing off the mask and says, this should be illegal. Imagine what the government has. Such masks should be illegal in all countries. Should realistic masks like this be illegal? These probably should be illegal. Those are 4 real posts that I just read to you, one after the other, just randomly pulled off the timeline. And I think there's a mask psyop going on right now. It's a random thing.
You know what? I just realized that I think I got some mask jingles.
If you're working alone, wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
Hey,
Oh, it's a different mask, but that makes it a reusable jingle.
The layers of the psyop are many. We got this one too. Hold on.
The evidence is simply overwhelming. Masks keep Californians healthy.
Okay. Oh man. Somebody go find out if Gavin Newsom is wearing a mask. I really want to know if that golden dome is really
for sure. There's masked Gavin Newsoms. We mentioned earlier at the top, Cuba came up.
Yeah.
There was this link just dropped. I put it.
Well, I have the Trump clip talking about Cuba. Can we play that? It's about 30 seconds.
30 seconds. The one I have is a little bit longer, and I thought it would have a little bit more context, maybe.
Okay.
Because I think the quote, I can read the quote to you.
Well, I think both quotes are in this one too. So
I know, I've just thought some context would be good because he's asked this in the Oval Office by Peter Doocy.
Okay. Hold on one second. The one you sent is loading. I don't know why it stopped working, but
responding to.
Okay, here we go. Here's Trump.
I was just with a fantastic person who's Cuban and made a fortune in sugar, Fanjul family, right? And this family wants to go back to Cuba to visit it. They haven't been back in like 50 years or something. They largely come from Cuba. And we'll see what happens. They were asking me about that. They want to go back not only Fanjul. A lot of Cubans have said, "Oh boy, would they love to go back." I think Cuba, I don't know, in its own way, if tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time. Very violent leaders. Castro was a very violent leader. His brother's a very violent leader. Extremely violent. That's how they governed. They governed with violence. But a lot of people would like to go back.
Okay.
Wow. A little meandering there, maybe a little bit too much context, but I love the pause. It would be my honor to be taking Cuba. Like doubles down on it. And even Peter Ducci's like, take Cuba. Like, yeah, take it. I'm going to take it.
Free it, take it. Yeah, whatever. Like, I can do whatever I want.
Lots of ways to do it, but I could take it. Yeah, I'm going to take it. Great. Yeah, we just a little catch up, just a little review. Cuba is popping off right now. They just lost all electricity, I think, to the whole
island. I know. The discombobulator is on the ground right now. They are,
it's possible that the leader of Cuba is already in Guantanamo Bay by now. Like they just scooped them up, discombobulated, scooped them up. And Cubans, look, who knows what's what, but the reporting is that Cubans have been sort of rising up or rioting or doing something for a few days now. So, maybe we already have Cuba. Who knows? Just take it. Take it. I could take Cuba.
With it. Yeah. Just as a final note, Polymarket bet, Bibi Netanyahu out of office by March 31st. There's somebody who put down a good chunk of change, Basil. They have almost 4 million shares of this bet. Their position is $173,000 right now. That's a pretty big bet. If Bibi Netanyahu does leave office by March 31st, he will make $4 million.
Okay. Well, I wish him the best. Or he's just doing that to lure other people into the bet, and then he's going to sell his shares.
He's going to sell his share. Yeah. The game is multi-layered, folks. Don't gamble.
Hello, Kat. All right, let's. We got a few more producers to thank, keeping the show alive. We are very appreciative of them. These are producers who come in. They say, "Oh, I get it. If nobody puts value into the show, then nobody will get value out of the show. I see. You can be a moocher for your entire life. That's okay. Lots of people do it, but just know that the Lord is using people out there, and He uses them in individual ways. No two producers are the same. But we want to thank some of our producers who came and supported us financially under the executive producer amount. And they did that by going to canarycry.support. And remember, it's value for value. It's whatever value you received from the show, whatever value the show brings to your life, the analysis, the humor, whatever it is. If you have not yet decided that you cannot believe a single thing that you see on the internet, I hope that this episode brought you value. And then, it's like the woman at the temple. It's like the widow at the temple in the New Testament there. Doesn't really matter how much exactly the dollar amount or even the cents amount is. It's just the fact that we are answering God's call to use our resources in a way that is not in a contractual transaction with mammon is a big deal. And producers understand that. And I think that there are producers living this out, this sort of higher level kingdom economics, and we're just so blessed that they are. So we've got a couple producers here. Producer Cynthia M.
Cynthia M, thank you very much.
Yeah, producer Cynthia M comes in for 3333.
Oh, Illuminatus.
Thank you very much, Illuminati handler Cynthia M. Appreciate it. Producer Rebecca T is back.
Hey,
Rebecca T comes in for 2332.
Ooh, I see a 3-3 in there. Try to sandwich it in a couple of twos.
And let's see. Rebecca T is on a 6-episode streak.
Hey, she's on fire.
You're on fire, Rebecca T. Thank you very much. Next up, producer Monica comes in for 1001 1001.
1001.
Amen.
Thank you
very much, Monica. Monica sent a note here. Happiest of anniversaries to you guys. Thank you for bringing the light of Christ to a dark world and for giving so much of yourselves for the sake of the gospel and God's people. Much love to you and your families. Thank you very much, Monica.
Appreciate that.
Let's see. Next up, we've got producer Happy Anniversary.
What?
It's producer Happy Anniversary.
Okay.
I don't know how you did that, producer Happy Anniversary. Apparently, I have no idea, but that's
maybe this is our first actual CIA producership, you know?
Producer Happy Anniversary. I don't know. This is making me question a lot of how our system even works. You know, I didn't think somebody could.
Well, did it come in on, was it on PayPal?
No, it was on Stripe.
It's on Stripe? Well, you know, Stripe is going to buy PayPal is what I heard. So, you know, maybe it's all Peter Thiel.
It's possible. Oh, dang it. I tried to log in so I could figure it out, but I can't see. Hold on. Distract him.
Me? Distract him?
Distract him.
Blockchain.
There's blockchains. There's the Howard screen. Oh, here, I'll do this. Clips of Hitler in the same Satan cafe.
Okay, I'm done.
Merged.
I got it. I got it. Okay. I'm just trying to log in. It's a whole thing. Customer name is Happy Anniversary. I have no idea how you did that. All right.
Is there a note?
No, not that I see. I don't see a note. Happy Anniversary is the name on the card, apparently.
Wow. Okay. Well,
thank you very much.
Somebody, yeah.
Happy Anniversary.
That's like the most. I really feel like that's the most intelligence op producer support we've ever gotten.
It's amazing. This cat. Are you watching this cat? This cat is petting me on the face while I do this. Hi.
Well, that's what cats do.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty cute. Okay. Thank you. Happy anniversary for that. And of course, we have CageRattlerCoffee.com producing the show. Thank you, Cage Rattler.
Thank you, Cage Rattler Coffee.
I got so when you come in, you produce the show for $7.77 or more. That entitles you to have a note read on the show if you'd like. When you come in under $7.77, we'll be thanking you on Wednesdays, usually because the people coming in under that amount are on big long streaks, and we thank them very much for that.
Yep,
did you grab the piece of art?
Oh, I did not.
I should have mentioned it. It's on the art thing. We can save it for Wednesday.
Yeah, we might have to.
It's
going to take a minute to pull it up.
Save it for Wednesday. It's from Ianon. It's great.
Okay.
Thank you, Ianon. We'll do it on Wednesday.
Appreciate you.
Let's see here. You know, I will mention the Canary Cry text message alert system, which you should get on. I've been trying some experiments. I think I figured out some ways that like it was being blocked. So I think it should be going through to some more people. But here's the thing. Look, you should text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Again, just the word canary to 877-740-3226. And then I personally will send you a text just a few minutes before every show so you can decide if you want to watch it or not. You don't have to trust YouTube to send you a notification, which they usually don't. And the fun part is after you get the notification and you come and you watch the show and you fellowship with everybody, you can text us back at that number. I read them. I love them all. It is too expensive for me to converse with you via text, but I do get them and read them and appreciate them very much. The cat is now walking on the soundboard, so if any weird jingles go off, I apologize. Let's see here. TDL Prez says continued prayers for the squatting cop. Love y'all. Godspeed. God bless. Yep. So praying for TDL Prez's real estate squatter in his house. Let's see. 661 texts and says, if only CCNT would implement the live tag for podcasting 2.0, we'd be able to listen on new podcast apps. JS.
I thought we got help doing that. Maybe it didn't happen. We talked to some people that were supposed to help us with that, and I guess maybe it didn't happen.
I don't think we're doing it for the live though.
Oh, for live, yeah.
No, we don't. We really should do the live streaming, not the live streaming video, but the live audio on the podcast apps. Yeah, we do need to do that. If anybody knows how to do that,
CCTT, you have been
get in contact. Let's see here. 250 cat texts and says, man, does it ever have me questioning reality and my sanity? Catch you on the flip side. I'm praying for you both. Thank you very much, Cat.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Cat.
Let's see here. Who's this? Been listening to y'all the whole time. Lord bless and keep you. Thank you, 228. So there you go. Oh, who's this? 406 says, happiest of anniversaries to you guys. Thanks for bringing the light of Christ to the dark, dark world and for giving so much of yourselves for the sake of the gospel and God's people. Much love to you and your families. Oh, thank you, Monica. Oh, that was your producership. Yeah. There you go. Text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Get on it. Get on it. Get on it. Anything else, Gonz? What do we got?
Envisidon coined a phrase that I think we can use. There's a couple phrases that I think we can coin here. One of them is Bible LARP. I think there's some Bible LARPs out there.
Yeah.
But the other one that I like is PsySlop. You know, like a PsyOp, but it's slop, so it's PsySlop.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. I think we can lean into that one. So I'm sure an influencer of some level will start using that, you know, a few months, a few weeks.
Told you this? Who are
This is just Envisidon, you know, Envisidon. It's a quantum altered X on X. He's the one that's been tracking the Donald Trump as a time traveler for like 10 years. You know, he's been really on top of it for a long time, documenting it. And he actually made a post a few days ago saying, I'm coining it now, PsySlop. If anyone sees it. So I want to jump on that train now because I think that's a good one. I think people will pick up on that eventually.
It's more descriptive for sure.
Yeah. Really makes
and
sense.
There's some degree of power in not using the names given to us, using alternative ways of describing things.
Yes.
Often the phrase is the PsyOp.
Yes, it is. That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. You good to go? Should we think?
I'm good to go. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Timestamp.
Timestamp. It's hard work. Timestamp.
Morgan E came in with the last episode of Timestamps. Appreciate you, Morgan E.
Thank you,
and,
Morgan E.
I'm seeing Jade Bouncerson currently operational.
She's
for this
on it.
episode,
She's
so
on
we
it.
will
She's
thank her
doing it
next episode
now.
as well. Yep.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Timestampers. Thank you to Jam for heading up the Telegram channel. Thank you to Adam42 for heading up the Discord channel. If you want to join the Telegram channel or the Discord channel, go to canarycry.party. Canarycry.party in your browser. You'll find some invite links there. You can join whatever you want to join. Thank you to Joe for all your feedback. Thank you to Clank. I saw we just got an email from Clank. I'll look at that.
I need to message Clank. There's
we
some
all
things I need to talk to
message
Clank about.
Clank.
Yeah,
we
Clank,
all
need
got to
message
talk
him.
to Clank.
Yeah.
And of course, thank you to Sir Ike for doing everything you do for us. And other than that, share the show, folks. Share the show. Do you have friends who think they're experts at spotting AI? Do you have friends who have not realized yet that we have moved into the era where you absolutely cannot believe anything you see online. Are they convinced? Are they sending you videos all the time? It's not even about whether it's real or not real. It's about the state of mind, folks. It's about the understanding of the illusion. It's about the understanding, spotting the slop. And they need to get there. We all need to get there. They need to get there. Send them this episode. That's a great way to help your friends and family. We call it rattling cages. Now all you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. A total blackout just slammed Cuba. The entire island has virtually no electricity. Okay. All right, Gonz, got any last words?
Make sure to wear green tomorrow for St. Patrick's Day and eat corned beef.
Okay.
And then we'll be back on Wednesday on National Awkward Moments Day.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez, Gonz. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Let's invite some dudes over and fellowship tonight.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
It will kill.
Toilets! Toilets! Feed him more. Give me a break. This is not about freedom or personal choice. Do not come back, you Nazi psychopath!
This is the way. This is the way.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary Cry, not